All right, I'm doing the intro now. I said now.
What?
What is going on?
Well, I'm gonna watch this on YouTube, muted.
As the intro.
You can hear the sound of my voice. If you can hear my voice, you're hearing my voice. If you can hear my voice, if you can hear the sound of my voice, you are on LSD. 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 You are on the Lonely Screen Delicatessen channel.
Hey, we're live.
We're live?
Yeah.
Well, then, if you can hear the sound of my voice, you are on LSD, not the mind-altering substance that can split sticky, but the podcast network, the Lonely Screen Delicatessen. With me, as always, my sidekick, my ambiguously gay hero, the Pinoy boy toy, Mike Nofolozo.
Ambiguously gay.
Remember the ambiguously gay duo?
Oh, yes. Okay, all right. I was like, wait a minute.
You know, just teabagging each other.
Thank you.
And thank you, Gene. Yeah. And appropriately so, catching the reference, our guest tonight, who are we super excited to have, it is Gene.
Yo.
Gene! We need to have like a little applause, like, hey!
Yeah. Just clap by the mic.
How are you, Gene?
I'm doing all right. You know, same shit, different laxative.
Yeah. I haven't seen you since pre-Pandy.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen much of anyone since like pre-Pandy. It's been a pretty normal 6 months.
Okay. So what have you done?
Not seeing people part because like honestly, the only thing I really did was like host a D&D game on Monday and Wednesdays, and that was like my social for the week, you know.
At the Pepin.
Right.
But I do miss restaurants. Man, do I miss restaurants.
What do you mean? We went to 2 restaurants today.
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta. I'm spoiled, man. Our shit is open.
No, I live like 5 miles north of Gene. I don't live in a different county.
Oh yeah, you know, but I ain't trying to catch the Rona. Like, and motherfuckers in Florida, they just like to lick their hands and touch things.
Everybody's had it, Gene. Everybody's had it.
And like,
cool?
and you know, I was already like, you know, kind of like hypochondriac to begin with.
Right,
you know,
right.
I wasn't like a germaphobe or something, but now I notice every time somebody unnecessarily touches my shit,
Gene.
like, it's bad.
Gene.
I'm just like, man, why are you touching that? Like, you don't even need to right now.
That's hilarious.
Why are you touching it?
Gene.
No, I think like of our friends,
Wait.
more people have had it than had not had it.
Wait. Gene.
Yeah.
I remember when we would have parties at Ackerson's house, and you're like, man, I worked all week, and like I still got concrete in my hair. Like,
oh yeah.
Like,
yeah, man,
dude,
that's something I don't miss. Holy shit.
You're
working on Palm Beach Island.
What I'm saying is, like, you've been exposed to the elements of Florida. Like, you're not
saying you're safe.
You're safe.
Oh,
like,
well, yeah, I probably am safe from the Rona.
Whatever you got,
am safe from the Rona.
Like, whatever you got from a random mosquito biting you, like, through wet concrete, like a mega mosquito, whatever that gave you to, like, you know, like, in your body was like, oh, shit, we got to fight this. Literally, like, Rona will, like, land on you, and it'll be like, man, this is not goodbye. Because I feel like that's what happened to me.
I probably had enough lie in my blood to where that's probably true.
Yeah.
It's like I got like lie poisoning over like 65% of my body. That was fun.
Yeah, that's terrible. Like, I don't think your body lets shit in anymore.
Yeah, man, that stuff burns. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, Fight Club was not joking. Add water, that shit burns. Like, because I used to do this thing called like glass block, right? And lies the active material in the mortar. So like that shit got over my clothes, and then it rained.
Or you sweat.
GG.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was over, man.
No, thank you.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, that was probably some of the worst pain that I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Literally, that's the other thing too. Like, you've like worked outside doing construction. You've been burnt by lye, like on a lot of your body. So like, oh, you get a little cough. It's like, no, you're fine. Like,
well, so that's kind of what I was leading up to. What they've talked about is that the people who have been disproportionately affected have been people who have issues with vitamin D. People in our age group aren't really being heavily affected. I think partly, I really believe it's because we the fuck are outside. We were outside as kids. And that leads me to what we talked about prior to going live. Our generation does stuff. Even if we do it alone,
We're the last one.
even if it's reading a book in the park or whatever, we go do. Even Novoloza, who hates going outside, he's an errand running dad motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like you got to do stuff. Yeah. What's that?
I still have to do stuff.
Right, you still have to do. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I wonder if, it's like the little mole rats who are the ones who are being really affected by this. Like people who are just like super hermit style, super isolated already.
Gene and I get along for the reason, like. When I tell people I deliberately didn't see the sun for 120 days, like Gene, and I feel like Gene and John Paul of our friends are like the only two people that are like, yeah, no, I understand what he's saying. Like the sun is.
Oh yeah, man. Like I've not gone outside because, like, honestly, and that's what I'm saying with the whole pandemic thing. Not much really changed. Like I don't have D&D. I mean, I still have it. I have it like over Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't. That's the only thing that changes, like me going to D&D. Like mostly I was in my house, but like outside of work. But for work, like I'm out there all day long because right now I'm doing flooring. So I'm like in all of the places you don't want to be during a pandemic. In the middle of fucking Home Depot, at gas stations, at people's houses, tons of people's houses, old people no less. You would think, so if like the plague was rolling through, the last thing you would worry about is getting your floors done. Fuck no, dude.
So why are you scared of getting it if you're out there all the time?
Oh, like the Rona?
Yeah.
Because, bitch, I might have a pre-existing condition that I don't know about. See that, and that's also a lot of the things too that, like, I think a lot of people that were affected by it, because a lot of motherfuckers think they're healthy. You don't have health insurance, motherfucker. You're not healthy. You probably have all the things and don't even know it. Like, you come along, the Rona comes in, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna shut down your ACE receptors, bitch.
Yo,
guess what?
Can I tell you something, Gene? Sure. So the main pre-existing conditions that like the main 5 or whatever, to where like you're supposed to die if you catch corona, right? Asthma, I got it. High blood pressure, got it. High cholesterol, got it. Heart, like what is it? I have diabetes. Like supposed to be dead.
Yeah, diabetes is a big one on the Rona. I've lost a couple friends that had the diabetes when they got the Rona.
And I have an extreme vitamin D deficiency. So like all of those things, I have all of those things. Guess who caught corona and just lost the sense of taste? This guy was like 50-50 smell and taste.
Oh, congratulations! I've known so many people that have gotten it thus far. But like varying effects, like I said before, like I had like a.
But these are people that don't have all of this.
So Tommy Donuts had it,
and he's like got the same stuff. Tommy Donuts
had it. Did Tommy get it twice or something?
He got it twice. Well, now he's getting injected with it every 2 weeks, as part of a study. He's getting lit up. Yeah, they're giving him like $100 every 2 weeks or some shit, and he's like, "Yeah, the army's just lighting me up with the Rona."
Oh, damn.
Fucking, it's ridiculous.
It is Bill Dotree. Oh god.
If anybody would like have like the Wolverine gene for the Rona, it would be Tommy.
But he has the
my
same.
My wife, once she saw what happened with Tom, she was scared initially, and she was like not wanting to be sick. And when she saw Tom, she's like, he's the fucking unhealthiest person that I know. He's our canary in the coal mine. He doesn't take care of himself. No exercise whatsoever. He does no cardio whatsoever. He eats fast food fucking 3 meals a day. Like, he's an animal. What's that fucking Hunter S. Thompson quote? He's like, too weird to live, too strange to die. Like, he's Tom is that. Tom is that creature. And I mean, that's why I love him. But
he has the same things wrong with him that I do.
Diabetic as well. He had that as well. He don't go outside. He won't take walks with me. Like, I'll try and get him to come hiking with me and the kid or me and the family on the weekends. And he's like, no, I can't. That's too far of a distance away from a bathroom. When I need to shit, it's like happening. I got to be.
Tom is my spirit animal because I'm always
Dude,
40
me and Tom,
minutes.
when we take hikes together, we hike laps in Walmart because he needs to
Yes.
be in the vicinity of a shitter.
Yeah, I'm always 40 minutes from or 40 minutes.
This is also the guy who ate
about
4 Carolina
here.
Reapers like
Yeah.
a snack.
Like a snack.
Oh my god.
Check that episode out.
Oh my god.
My
Man, I
sister-in-law.
can't even like look at a pepper, let alone eat one. This guy's out here like new.
So I ordered some months and months before we started the podcast, and I just had them. And for years, Tom has been an animal. I've seen him drink a half a gallon of eggnog. We should pull that video up and put it in the description below. Fucking, I've seen him drink a gallon of yogurt. I've seen him eat a pound of macaroni along with a pound of chopped meat, along with a pound of stew, like a pound of meat sauce, and then a pound of stew beef. I've seen him eat like a 4 to 5 pound portion of pasta and sauce. I've seen him do that.
Yeah, I put that off with lasagna.
Bro, he's an amazing creature when it comes to that. He ate a handful of scorpions. He didn't care. Yeah, he's. My daughter got him a spicy chocolate bar, like the spiciest chocolate bar you can buy. He ate it like it was a fucking chocolate bar. He is.
Yeah, that man is a legend. I can't even look at a jalapeno without fucking starting to sweat.
No, he's one of those.
He's another level.
Yeah, he.
And like and it's really funny too. Like at restaurants and stuff, like the wait staff always ask me if I want hot sauce. I'm like, no, man, I don't want none of that shit. Like I would like my chicken wings mild as they come. Like if there's one lower than mild, I'll take
Give
that.
me the plain
Like,
butter and cheese, thank you.
Right? I'm not about the spicy shit, dude. I can't do that. Like my ancient ancestors were like poison tasters or something.
That's a cultural
like,
stereotype too. People see black people, they're like, "Oh, get them the hot sauce," and it's like,
"Oh yeah," I'm like, "No, I ain't trying to get
that shit." I'm out. No.
So my sister-in-law, I guess when she was younger,
and like
I think she used to be like that, like the Jamaican girl that was like, oh yeah, I'll eat whatever's spicy, I don't care, So I was telling her about Tom. I was like, oh, maybe you could like challenge him. And then she was like, oh, maybe I can eat like anything spicy. And then I was like, yeah, he ate like 4 Carolina Reapers and like he was fine. 10 minutes later, she was like, oh no, I can't beat him. She's like,
he said the only time it sucked was when he shit. He said when he shit, it was brutal.
I bet.
Like the closest I would have to say that I've gotten to anything like that, like when I was in my youth, in my teens, like we were at a Steak and Shake, and somebody offered me a carton of cigarettes if I ate that jar of fucking like peppers or whatever that they had, and I'm like, a carton of cigarettes.
I've seen that little jar before. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a carton of cigarettes. I'm like, and at the time, I'm an avid smoker, bitch. That's $30, So, I ate the jar. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life, dude. I thought I was gonna die. Like, I started sweating. Like, my mouth started watering uncontrollably. Like, it was just the worst, dude. I remember I was like standing in the bathroom, and like I was like trying to take a piss or something, and like I was drowsy. It was like I was drunk or something, man. Never again. Was not worth I mean, I guess the cigarettes are probably worth it at the time, but I wouldn't do that again. Like, you couldn't convince me with money.
That's not a joke for most people. And then you have freaks of nature out there like Tommy Donuts who can.
Yeah, right?
So I met Tom in 5th grade. We became buddies in 5th grade, and then we became like tight in like 6th grade because we walked home on the same route. And when I realized he would pass my house on the way to school, I would be like, oh, come through in the morning. But one morning, my mother takes us all to Publix to get breakfast. She gets us all Danishes. And she goes on the way to the car, like, hey, finish it before we get in the car. She meant, in classic Italian or Cuban fashion, stand around the car and eat the Danish and sip the coffee and talk shit for 15 minutes while everybody eats and then get in the car. Tom took it to mean
a challenge.
Get in my face. And he took one of those big cheese Danishes that's like that big, and he just pounded the whole thing into his mouth. And I remember my mother, who was not one to be speechless, was completely at a loss for words. And she just looked at him for like a solid 30 seconds, and then she was like, did you just shove that whole fucking Danish in your mouth? And he was like, oh, you told me to eat it. And from that moment on, Tom was like our family garbage disposal. He just came to my house every day and cleaned whatever was left, and just go through the fridge, leftover, eat them all. Just he's fucking.
So
animal.
I think. So I think there's the only people that can like maybe keep up with the volume of food that he can eat are in this chat right now, and I know it's just Gene and myself, because like I'm impressed. Like if Gene were on that episode where we were like fat kid episode, he would have been upset like I was when everybody was like, oh, I had 2 cheeseburgers and a milkshake and a sandwich in one sitting, and I literally was just like, I was like, that was like a Wednesday.
Remember those big ass burgers, cheeseburger?
Yeah.
Like they would put your picture on the wall if you ate like the pound burger or whatever the fuck it was, 5-pound burger. It was something ridiculous. Like,
but it's not
I
ridiculous
smashed
to
one
us.
of those things in like 20 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's not ridiculous to us. What the story I told was basically like, remember when we would have the parties at Ackerson's where like everybody would bring food? I basically did that by myself at my house because everything was about to go bad, and I ate a whole refrigerator worth of food in a day, right? And I was like, yeah. And I was thinking about it during the show, and I think I even said, I'm like, I think Gene's the only other person I know where I could have been like, yeah, no, Gene has a similar story. Like, Gene and I and Tom's fat kid stories are like you can't equal that with like fat people,
Right.
My favorite, amongst like me devouring a lot of food stories is like my friend John Axon. He's Italian, so like they have me over for Thanksgiving, and like I would be the last person at the table because like they're Italian people. They're like they just keep on bringing you food as long as you continue eating. So like I would just sit, bro. Oh my lord, man! I remember like one of the jokes that Ackerson always has, like anytime you bring Gene over for Thanksgiving, there are no leftovers.
No.
Like, bitch, you feed me out.
There shouldn't be though. Like that was a weird thing as like getting older as an adult. Cause like what were leftovers? Like leftovers were the stuff that you didn't want to eat, right?
And see, that's the thing too. A lot of people are like, I'm not down with eating food after like it's been like a couple of days. A lot of people are like, wow, I like eating my food right now.
Well, some stuff's better, like stews and stuff, and like other things were like. But I know, like the flavor, gets better overnight.
I got
sometimes.
Some cold fucking meatballs and spaghetti in my fucking refrigerator right now. That's a day and a half old, and this podcast's over, I'm gonna face fuck it. That's what's happening.
So I had to learn that, Gene. Like
I'm gonna sprinkle $9 cheese in that bitch and eat it cold right out of the fucking fridge.
Sometimes stuff is better the next day, though. That's just a thing.
Whole pasta.
Yeah. But like, so that leads me to what I was gonna talk about here. Like, you ever watch that fucking idiot, the Man versus Food guy?
Yeah.
And have you ever thought to yourself, Gene, like, he's done? Like he's quitting? I could have eaten that. The food challenges, like every time. Oh, yeah. I feel like Andrew, we could get a show like once we're like up and running.
There's
we're making good money.
There's a challenge that guy lost here in my like area that Tom has mentioned wanting to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and I think we should film it. Yeah, for sure.
The 3 of us, I feel like, could go on the road, like 1 month, right? Like if we start making good money with the food truck,
bro.
Yeah, we go around to
I like where this is going.
All the challenges, and if one of the 3 of us can, like, I feel like Tom would have to do the spicy stuff.
Man, Gene might be the perfect 4th guy, bro.
That's what I'm saying, man.
You, me, Tom, and Gene?
Dude, on the road with food?
Gene, you might have just fucked up. You might have just got yourself fucking recruited, dude. You might have just got enlisted. Holy shit.
Dude, and you get paid to eat, bro.
So what? And Gene's no stranger to hard work. He's an artist, so he's got multifaceted use. Oh, this is... So, okay. We have to talk about this after.
Dude, I've been thinking about this.
Gene might be the perfect 4th man. God damn.
Dude, I've been thinking about this since that stupid fat guy episode when I was like, these fat guys aren't fat like Gene and I. Like, and then the stories of Tom. Like Gene and I aren't physically
They're fat like I like food, we have experienced fatness like I hate myself.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Like where you eat so much where you're like, oh, I've eaten all of my daughter's,
Yes,
I've eaten all of my daughter's lunch snacks before.
Mm-hmm.
I've had at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning because I'm like, you know what? I got to make this kid's fucking lunch. I made 5 grilled cheeses with all the ham. So I got to go get more sandwich shit. And I got to fucking make, and apparently I really like those fucking Annie's gummies, the gummy bunnies, because they're gone. So
those things are so fucking good, bro. Those things are good.
And
that is one of my.
You know the only guy that on that show that I could tell understood but didn't want to like expose himself was Patrick's friend, the Last Pint production guy.
I think Morrison also like Morrison knows how to I've been with Morrison at Wawa at 3 o'clock in the morning and watched him order 4 things. Like I've seen this happen.
But 4 things.
Morrison eats big.
Morrison
eats big like a weightlifter,
but
not
I feel
big like a despiser.
You can't understand the food hole that's in like Thomas, Gene, and I.
No, I do. I've seen it.
It's hard.
The most I've ever seen go down is Tom and Joey.
Yeah, but
Tom and JoJo.
But there's
I've seen JoJo
can put down.
JoJo can
what you
JoJo
don't
can put down. I've seen Tom and
JoJo like at his house. Like when we order pizza at King George's house, it's a minimum of 6 pizzas.
Bro,
yeah,
it's a minimum.
That's
what
like
you
a casual
don't see,
fucking night.
But what you don't see is is what I'm talking about. Like when I said when they were talking about like a large order at McDonald's, I was like,
yeah,
no, I the only person that can confirm that I've done this in real life is Kevin Kelly, because I was on the phone with him when I did my regular, like my snack Wednesday order, and it was
check this.
Yeah, and it was like a 20-piece. Yeah, it was 20-piece nuggets, 2 fish fillets, a couple cheeseburgers, some extra fries, and Kevin Kelly was like, "I hope there's another person there," and I was like,
"You will."
No, man.
You'll appreciate this. You'll appreciate this.
That's just my everyday.
It's me and JoJo hanging out. At one point in time, we were hanging out like every day because we were doing covers together.
Yeah,
and we would be working up our set list and getting really baked. And I was in culinary school, so I would have like 1 class a day at one point in time, and then have the whole rest of my day free while my kid was in school. And we would be just going to the wall. And one particular, I think actually it was right before I moved to Atlanta. No, it was before that because he was in the small apartment. But anyway, I go over there with a cooler full of meat from fucking Western Beef, and fucking we grill on a little grill outside in his complex. We grill sausages and we put a bunch of potatoes in the oven, and we fucking get like a big tub of sour cream and butter, and fucking we did steaks, sausages. I did a bunch of chicken wings, and then I think we did like beef short ribs or something like that. Like it was great. It was fucking a feast. Like we literally just each had a big aluminum tray in front of each of us eating like fat fucks. And I think Kat was by for part of that. Then like a couple hours goes by and Kat comes through, I want to say, with somebody else, and then Tommy Donuts comes by and we get to talking about Indian food, and Tom's like, I never had Indian food. Closest thing ever was when I was in Afghanistan, but it's not really Indian food. It's like Afghani food. It's much poorer, whatever. And Joe's like, you never had Indian food? There's a spot right down the put down. Joe drops like $100 on Indian food.
Nice.
And gets like a massive fucking order of Indian food to come over. Then we do that. We eat. We dab out hard as fuck. And then me, Tom, and Joe hanging out a couple hours later are like, who's hungry? And we're all like, I can eat.
Yeah.
And then we go get a $44 order from Taco Bell, and
a regular order from Taco Bell,
and a $68 order from McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll never forget those numbers specifically because of that night.
Dude, that's enough for 3 people.
And then Tom picks up 4 grilled cheeses from Steak and Shake. And turns 2 of them into a bun.
Yeah.
For the inside.
That's how you eat it.
Burger.
That's how you eat it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
and also
fun that night.
Are some of my favorites, like the pizza taco.
Yeah.
Like this is one of like my favorite things to do. Like you get a pound of ground beef, right? And like a Tostino's pizza, and you cook the Tostino's pizza like right before it gets like stiff, and then you put the taco fixins inside, and then you fold that bitch over and put it back in the oven. Oh my god,
that's
Andrew. Remember last night?
Show.
Remember last night I told you I was going to McDonald's to get the new crispy nuggets, which are phenomenal. We need to get sponsored by them because, man, I will take free.
The second time you brought it up,
spicy nuggets. Gene, have you had those yet? I
know where I'll be stopping when I take my kid to school in the morning.
Dude,
speaking of taking my kid to school in the morning, I've been getting her there like 3 hours late every day.
Yeah,
they're not psyched about it.
But I told you I was gonna go get those spicy nuggets, but all the McDonald's around me, they don't serve them after midnight for some reason, and we got off at like 1:30. Yeah, dude, Palm Beach County, fuck it. So I was like, fuck. I had some Totino's pizzas in the freezer. I fucking did exactly that, Gene, but I put my spaghetti sauce that I've been sitting for a couple days. Dude, I heated that up until it was like a thick sauce, and there's a lot of meat in there, and I just fucking, and I was like, this is the best thing ever.
I love it.
I made like 3. I made 3 because I got those box of 4 Totino's pizza, and I just kept throwing them in the fridge and reducing that pot of sauce. I'm like, this is so good. I'm just gonna die in the living room, and they're gonna wake up and find my fucking comatose body, artery clogged, motherfucking cold ass body. Oh.
I wonder if it's like if you have a certain combination of like a real visceral love of eating and like an oral fixation and like that, because I've done that thing where it's like you're making sauce and I get like a nice loaf of bread and you start with like a piece of bread and you hollow it out a little bit and you fill it and then you spoon in some really nice fucking pecorino romano on top.
And you can toast it too.
And then maybe even you take like a little ball of buffalo mozzarella and you put that on top of that. And then
you made a spaghetti
hold
pizza.
It right next to the flame off of the fucking, you hold the top of the right next to the
broiler
flame of the burner. And then you eat that and then you do it again. And you do it again.
And again.
In like a half an hour, 45 minutes, you've eaten like a whole loaf of bread and half of a pot of sauce. Like,
this is why we had the wrong people for that episode, because I felt like you were like, I know, because we had conversations where you had talked about bigger meals than the meal that you shared. I was just like, what? I felt like you.
Well, I kind of thought with that episode too, we were gonna like tier up, like we'd say a meal and then someone, and then
but that was their best.
It was like I thought we were gonna do this. You know what I mean? Like,
but that was their best that they gave, and I was like, the Wednesday at McDonald's is your best for me? Like I want to hear that what you just said.
The only thing preventing me from having a fast food binge tonight as well as my spaghetti face fuck is the fact that my wife is out of town tending to her grandfather and my kid is here with me, so I can't like snake away and I'm not going to pay like the $43 for McDonald's
delivery
because it's supposed to be delivered to charge me fucking $18 of delivery fee. I did order Chinese food on Postmates today, and it was fucking wonderful. That was fantastic.
Yo, our Chinese.
Oh man! Before the onset of Postmates, and we're the only people nice enough to deliver your food with the Chinese and the Italians. Like, I remember this one day, I ordered both Chinese and a pizza, and they got there at the same time. Man, the look on their faces, because it's a big empty house.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
This address, right?
Yeah. This guy's got like 3 pizzas, and this dude over here's got this like
big pizza. It's not even a pizza. It's fucking a stack.
And you're just like
pizzas.
Yeah, and you come to the door.
I've planned my
day
of food, gentlemen. Thank you for participating.
This is all for me. Here's your tips. Thank you. Like,
it's like, I don't need your judging looks. Take your money and go.
Well, no, like this past like month, I was down there doing stuff at Melody Ave with Mike, and we were working on stuff, and I brought a bunch of meat with me to try and eat healthy while I was on the road, and while I was down, I brought a cooler full of steaks and shit, and I'm on the phone with my wife, and I'm like, yeah, I've been fucking going to the Cuban joint like every other night, and I've been stopping here and there, and I ate Bud's chicken, I haven't, and she's like, well, don't waste all that meat. I was like, no. I also have been eating steaks every day. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, but also I've been hiking and swimming. Like, that's been cool, right? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. Just what? Like, fucking, you brought a lot of steaks. How many steaks have you eaten? I was like, tallying it up. I ate a steak like every night when I got home to the Airbnb, like steak and fried onions, or fucking steak and a fried egg, or steak and some mushrooms.
I actually want to touch on another thing that you said, like, and add to it, like the combination of things to like make you be able to eat that, like hating yourself. Like I've like always felt that, like ever since I can remember, like just hating myself. So like, and like the biggest outlet I had was like the first time I figured out I could feel good about hating myself and eating myself into hating myself was my grandmother there was like a family reunion for Filipinos, and my grandmother had made like 500 lumpias, like, but they were like this big instead of like the way my dad makes them where they're like this big. They were this big, and there were like 500 of them, and she had like 300 of them on a tray. She was like a little over halfway done cooking them, and I said, "Can I have some?" And she said the wrong words to a young me, which is, "You can eat as much as you want." And I said, "Okay," and I ate the tray of 300 lumpias, and she was like, "Where are they? Like, what did you do with them? Where'd you put them?" And I was like, "They're right here. I put them in my tummy." And she's like, she's like, I can't be. I told him eat as much as you want, and and I was just like the way you described Tom eating stuff. I was just like a little 10-year-old going, no, like they were chips. And
I've done the same thing as a kid with arepa. I've done the same thing, like where you just like go to war on a thing and it's awesome, and you don't even consider it. You just go ham, and it's the best, and you're just loving your life. And then by the time you realize, like, oh, this was for everybody. I remember in junior high, I was at a homegirl's house with like my girlfriend at the time and my buddies. We were all like hanging, like, you know, a little gang of kids hanging out. And the mother was making pierogies, and I'd never had a pierogi. And she was making like real deal ones too, not like no frozen shit. And making pierogies, and it smelled really good, all potatoey and oniony and shit. And I'm like, "What is that?" And she's like, "It's a pierogi." I was like, "Looks like an empanada." She's like, she's like explaining to me what it is. And I was like, "Can I have one?" She's like, "Yeah, I have a few. I'm making a lot." And I had one. And I was like, this is fucking so good. And I like gushed over it. So she was like, here, have as many as you like. And she put the plate out, right?
That was the wrong words.
Being serving tray like of a plate.
Wrong words.
I fucking just ate I ate every fucking one that she put on the counter. And then she was like, you ate them all? And we were like, yeah, like, and everybody was like, well, Drew ate like most of them. But like, and
we all had one.
She was like, okay, I gotta go. She had to go to the store and get more shit because those were the ones she was making for like the next day for a thing. Like I hammered them all. I hammered every fucking one of them, every pierogi.
Man.
I must have eaten fucking a bushel of potatoes that fucking day and an onion and fucking 7 onions worth of pierogies.
Yeah, dude, like the parties,
so good.
Like the backyard barbecues we used to have at like John's house, where Mike lives now. Like. I learned my lesson with Gene the first time I made like just what I thought was enough for everybody, and Gene got to it first, and everybody was like, "Oh well, we're not getting any of that." And I was like, "What? No, that's real good. You should try some." And they're like, "No, Gene took the serving tray to the couch and a big spoon, and just ate it all." And I was like, "I understand." And I wasn't mad. I wasn't like, "Oh no, you guys need to try it."
High praise.
I was just like, "Okay, he likes that. That's cool, and he's a dude that can eat things." But then
we did that effortlessly when we made the picanha.
Oh yeah, but dude,
how many steaks was that? 6?
Yeah, it was more than 6 because you did like 2, and then 2 regular. It was 8. We housed 8 steaks.
We cut like, and it was like high grade, fucking really
like
fatty beef,
rich beef,
super rich. Like a lot of people, I think wouldn't. A lot of people eat one of those steaks and are like fucking done for the day.
And we dipped it in butter.
We dipped them in coffee brown sugar butter. The coffee brown sugar rub butter.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
It was great.
The fat on that.
Let me explain to you another thing I did with Gene. This is how I know Gene is probably the only person that could contend with Tom volume wise. I made these mashed potatoes. Do you remember the mashed potatoes, Gene? And I made you your own bowl.
Oh yes.
Just because I was like, I know these are going to be so good. So I cooked like ribs and bacon, and I pureed it after I cooked it. And then I made like great garlic and onion mashed potatoes, and then I mixed it all together with like sticks of butter. And I was like, okay, this bucket is for Gene, and then this serving tray is for everybody else. And like I brought them both there, and Gene was like, oh, this is really good. I'm like, okay, you like it? And I just hand him the giant bowl with like the spoon already in it. I'm like, this is just for you then. And he was like, for me? And then he went into a room with it. Like he needed to be alone. And I was like,
that's because, sometimes, man, I don't like people in the room while I'm eating because I'm making like orgasm faces and shit.
Dude,
I'm all like, oh.
And when I tasted that, as soon as I tasted my first batch of that, I was like, oh, this is Gene's batch. Yeah, no, like I can't. He's gonna like elbow everybody out like he's in fucking jail once he tastes this.
Yeah.
You know what I thought was funny? John's sister got kind of mad because it used to be at those things, you would do that to like her dishes. Right? Take him and walk away.
She has those bomb mac and cheese.
Yeah, and she brought that mac and cheese. And once you tasted my meat mashed potatoes, basically, my meat, onion, and garlic and butter mashed potatoes, you were gone. And she was like, so it's really that good? And you were like, yep. And like, bye. Like you didn't touch your macaroni and cheese till you were done with that giant tub of potatoes.
It was so good.
Yeah,
and
man.
it's funny that you brought that up because like when you had mentioned the other instance, like that was the first memory that came to mind was those mashed potatoes.
Dude,
like,
mashed potatoes are the best canvas to like lay anything onto. They're like,
I incorporated. It was puree. The mashed potatoes were like a pinkish like caramel color because I pureed all the meat. Like I made meat mayonnaise, and that's what I used because the mashed potatoes were watery, and I mixed that in so it thickened them back up. So it was literally like the protein, the overmixed protein of the pureed meat was the thing that like incorporated back. It was the best thing I've ever made.
Probably made it silky, like all the fat. Yeah,
it was the best thing I've ever made.
Oh man, it was so good, and it was like creamy, and oh man, my brain went numb. Like
we did one time, a bunch of people hanging out. We made 3 pig potatoes, we called it, where it was like a bunch of leftover roasted potatoes that we mashed. We added a little bit of water, but a lot of butter, and mashed them like with the skins. And then we took leftover ribs, leftover mojo pork, and then we fried up a bunch of bacon and fucking dried that out and chopped it up, and then added a bunch of cheese. We had like cheddar cheese, blue cheese, and I want to say mozzarella, and fucking it was just this.
The cheesy potatoes.
3 pig. We call it 3 pig potatoes. Fucking that shit was. Fucking.
Yo, that's
like
Gene. That's what those
potatoes
need. They need like the crispy skin, like the crackling on the top of those. Yeah. Oh fuck, you would die. You would just die eating those potatoes. Because like in Gene's batch, I remember because I made Gene's batch first. Like there were 2 whole packages of bacon. And 1 whole $15 package of Costco boneless pork ribs, just in his batch with the potatoes. And like 5 onions, 2 whole cloves of garlic that I like roasted and shit, man. Like it
was so good that I'm getting dopamine responses just thinking about it right now, bro.
I need to make a video about making it because I've never seen like literally should call them just heart attack potatoes because I feel like if you're not like us. Like
and call them fat potatoes,
dude. Like if you're clean on the inside, you will immediately be dead. Like if you're eating clean at all,
you can be pre-greased to eat that fucker,
dude. Because you're dude. That was the same weekend.
You can market it as a colon cleanse.
Oh yeah, because it's not touching any of the walls of the inside. It's just
slipping right through,
straight down. There's nothing for it to grab. That was the same weekend we did. We had like 4 smokers. That was a Memorial Day, right? And we had like 4 smokers going, and we had like 2 bacon wrapped filet mignons in the smokers.
Yeah, and
the pork shoulders.
Pork shoulder.
That was when Josh called me the bacon man because I wrapped everything in bacon and everything I brought had bacon in it. Like I bought a lot of I spent a lot of money at Western Beef. It was great. That's a great place. We need to get them to sponsor us to do some food stuff because, man, like, dude, I feel like we could do some shit that people would be like, wow, okay, that's those we thought we could eat. No, these guys can eat.
I'm down for eating ridiculous shit. Like, if you want to mix it together and then fucking deep fry that
would be a really fun video. We should do a whole hog video.
Oh, yeah, we need to do a whole, because we've been talking about that.
The whole hog video, you create a series of videos almost. Mm-hmm. You create this the prep. What's the marinade? That's a whole fucking video. You make that a video. Then the cooking of the animal, and then the third fucking video in the mini series is we all sit down as a nice round table discussion and podcast as we eat the entire pig.
Oh, yeah.
That's the goal.
No problem.
Eat an entire pig.
And then when we're done with the pig, we're like, is anybody else still hungry? And we order like Chinese food or something. Like,
no, we make something else.
Or we just make something else.
Steaks.
And then like we still order Chinese food. Like we're like there's nothing left to eat in the house. What do we do now? We're all still hungry. Order Chinese and pizza.
That's a great one.
And talk like just this real fat kid stuff. Like, man, this should have been the fat kid podcast, just the three of us with Tom, because those just physically fat guys aren't like they just don't have genetics, like good genetics. They're eating like 2,000 calories is so much. I'm like, wait, just in the thousands? Like we're in the like
you don't know how honest some people are about, like, especially if someone's overweight, it might be harder for them to accept what their real diet is, man.
But like, even
that's the thing that I see in my fat brethren that makes me nuts. Because coming from an athletic place, I was always comfortable with being fatter because I know I didn't have to create something else for myself to feel good about, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like
the genuine look of surprise on Patrick and Mike's face. I was like, I knew Mike was literally like the only person I know that could do that is Gene. Like, you know, and I was just like, yeah.
You know what's disappointing to me was when we were starting to touch on fat failures, like when Tom and JoJo and I went to Hardee's and Joey ordered everything on the menu after we had eaten barbecue all day earlier that day. And we were sitting there eating, and as Tom was harfing, he started like, and then like swallow it and then continue to eat his chicken sandwich. Like, and I'm like, you son of a bitch, don't you fucking do that again as I'm trying to eat cheese fries. Like, they were having none of that.
Yeah.
Patrick especially was like, oh, no, I don't want to hear about
pee-pee
talk. He was like,
again, like they're fat because their genetics don't let them eat like more than 1,000 calories.
If you've not had diarrhea while eating a snack simultaneously, you can't. You're not a factor.
There's one specific thing that you were telling your wife you ate when you were down here. It's the fuck is it? The fish and chips place, Bud's.
Bud's. Oh yeah.
There is something in Bud's. I love Bud's more than most places in Florida.
It's the best fried chicken fish bullshit place. Yeah.
I have to eat it on the toilet because as soon as my body senses that I'm eating Bud's, it's like, yeah, everything out. Not up. It ejects everything. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they like. What's in some seasoning to where my body's like, everybody out the back. Like I can feel it running through me.
It's the oil they use, man.
But other places use more disgusting oil, and it's a chain, so I know it's like not that bad. Dude, I've eaten some pretty bad.
Listen, I've eaten a lot of horrid shit, but what I'm saying is
you've eaten in Brazil. Specifically, you've eaten in Brazil.
Yeah,
there's no cleaning
in Miami,
of the oil.
Motherfucker. I've eaten from a street stall where someone's making shrimp on the road.
Raw ceviche from a moving truck. That was a mistake, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I've had the same shit. But what is in it's a certain type of oil? I don't know what.
It's the oil. I'm telling you, that's one. Okay, I eat Bud's chicken, and within 25 to 45 minutes of finishing my meal, I get a pain that I call the colon pine cone.
Yeah,
and it feels like I swallowed an entire pine cone.
You know, it's fucked up. Like I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Once you feel the pine cone, okay, now the clock begins.
Yeah.
Now we're on the timer.
That's why I eat it on the toilet.
Anywhere from 15 to 90 minutes, I'm gonna have a horrid explosion. Or I'm gonna have all the sound and fury, but no action. I'm gonna be feeling like I have diarrhea, but be constipated, and that's even fucking worse. Like way worse.
But I always
that's a
get
special
diarrhea.
Kind of pain.
Yeah, I always get diarrhea. That's why I say I have to just eat it on the toilet. I think I even said that too. I said that to them too, and they were like,
the diarrhea is a relief.
Yes.
Like when your body's so chock full of shit.
That was
when you
another
have that
thing.
Diarrhea, you're like, oh, at least this is a cleansing fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
we're comfortably talking about this because we've all been there. And when I think I even brought that up too, I'm like, I have to eat Bud's on the toilet, and they were like,
my house.
They were like,
my wife and I call it ghost shits.
Ghost.
We call it ghost shits because you moan like a banshee, like a spirit.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's from your core too.
When your
it's
body,
the core.
from your sternum to your asshole is having involuntary spasms as you're trying to take like a semi-nap as you shit.
You're like doing a hard crunch.
So long.
Yep, that hard
the squatty
sit-up.
body changed my life.
Oh yeah, I'm making a couple of them because I don't
Look
want
like an Asian now.
Yeah, just a hole in the ground. But yeah, man, like that was the other thing.
That strong knees.
When we
you don't see a lot of ACL injuries in the Asian community. Those motherfuckers squat.
No, that's genetic.
Well, because you guys are lighter.
Gene's seen my calves. There's no reason for me to have bodybuilder calves.
Shit. I was like, what the fuck is wrong?
When I don't, like, I'm fat, I'm out of shape.
Mike, you seen my calves? I still got shot knees.
But yeah, man. Oh yeah, I've had like knee surgery too, and my knees aren't like that bad. That's weird. But yeah, man.
I'm
like,
lucky. I got those the building pyramid genes. So
yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh god.
So no, like, my knees are good, bro. Knees and back, no problem.
That was the other
back
thing.
Is good, thank fuck.
Like Andrew and I were talking with Patrick's buddy about this type of stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, man, like I know the pain, right?"
Yeah.
And Patrick and Mike were like, "No, ew," and I was just like, "Oh, you guys are just overweight. Like
you're not fat.
Yeah, Andrew and I could like work out for a year and get ripped, right? And like inside, we would still be like a 600 pound, my 600 pound life guy. You know? Yeah, we would because my wife and I watched like my 600 pound life, and she's like, "Oh, how can you eat that much?" And I'm like, "That's a snack." And they'll literally say that after I say it.
And she'll be like horrified, and I'll be like, delicious.
It looks so.
Who wants Cool Ranch Doritos and a cup of fucking Wendy's chili poured into them? Yeah. What's up, girl?
The only reason I watched that show,
you Walmart fucking trash. Like
the only reason I watch that show is to find new food combinations. I'm just like. You can do that? Oh shit! I didn't even think.
Dude, fat people blows my mind. When you get to a certain level of fatness where your ankle has a thigh, like you don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, man.
That's when you really just go for it. Where it's like, yeah, we gotta stop at Burger King and we're getting the cinnamon sticks to dip into the chili. That's my favorite. But we gotta pour the syrup from. We get the syrup
from Waffle House.
Burger King, but we use the chili from Wendy's. That's the best combination.
Yeah.
Like where motherfucker.
Sometimes you got to do that though.
Man. If that's a fun little experience, but if that's your everyday lunch drive, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah,
that's when you get palate fat, and that's the other thing too. I think I'm like overweight as well as a fat kid in my heart, right? You guys are like lean fat kids, but I always used to say to my wife, like, if I ever fucking lost too much weight, it would be an unfair world, girl. Yeah. I fuck with her all the time on that shit, where it's like. Again, with some of our friends, like you said, they're overweight. They're not
fat.
Deep down broken. It's
it takes a special kind of hurt.
Type of broken to do that to yourself.
Yes. To
open the package of Pocky and see that the chocolate's gone pale and be like,
it's okay. Yeah. that point of no return with food that you get to, where you see there's still a lot, and you're like, I could stop right now. And I would be okay, but there's still food there, and I need to finish it because I fucking hate myself. And you never don't go past the point of no return. Whereas like I feel like those guys have been like, but I mean I feel like those guys have been like, this is too much. This is too much.
Buffets and stuff.
We talked about that too.
I go to Hot Pot, bro. I will sit at Hot Pot for like 3 hours, just like. Stuffing the shit out of my face, and then like I'm walking out of this bitch, and like you could hear the liquids like swishing around inside.
Yes. So here's the other thing that kind of fucked me up about that episode. Patrick was like, "No buffet stories," and I was like, "Bitch, like I don't know what your buffet horror stories are like. I've been asked to leave multiple Chinese buffets. I know the three of us have."
My wife took me to Churrascaria for my birthday this past year. We went to Fogo.
Yeah.
My grandmother was in town visiting. We brought her with us. My grandmother was like falling asleep at the table. because I was fucking just hanging tight, hammering beef and fucking candied bacon and shit. And I just remember there was a certain point in time where I could tell these motherfuckers were avoiding me. So I would just take the little green fucking coaster and hold that bitch up in the air until like 3 or 4 different steaks fucking came around. And it got to a certain point where my wife was like, you know what? She's like, I would be annoyed, but
it's expensive.
Well, she's like, I'm so Jewish that I'm really psyched you're really fucking getting like our dollars like strong. Like, exchange
oh
is
yeah.
good.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, Eva, I swear to God, every time I come here, I want them to feel like they fucked up letting me in. I want them to feel like they fucked up. And not even just that, I'm going to hit up the salad bar. I'm going to order cocktails, and I'm going to order some of those extra expensive sides. Bring me the scallops potatoes for fucking $19.95 for a 2-person serving, fucker. I don't give a fuck. Let's do this. I'm going to war in this bitch.
Dude,
that's my shit. Give me a stack of cucumbers to clean my palate, and then bring me 4 more steaks, fucker.
We're going to need to like move up there. And like once this podcast gets successful, right, and we start making good money, it's gonna be why I say we need to move up there, and we'll bring Gene too. Like we'll just get Gene on the show, whatever, he's making good money. That's all we do, right? It's gonna be a problem because I know, like, and I need to start working out with you. Oh, and Crystal also said she wants to learn jujitsu and have our kids learn all that stuff too. And I was like, sweet.
My daughter's gonna be starting soon, yeah.
Dude, we need to start getting healthy because if we start making good money here, that is going to be a common problem.
That's where I spend my money too, on rich food, man. That's my man. Dude, I have to bath tonight, man.
Down on food.
Dude, the 3 of us going in, the 4 of us, let me rephrase that, with Tom, going into a Brazilian steakhouse, they will ask us to fucking leave.
That'd be great filming too.
But
great content.
Oh yeah.
No, because like it gets to that point where you start noticing they get that annoyed look on their face.
Yeah, like he was saying. Yeah.
Like, why you motherfuckers?
Look, they brought you your picanha, and you're like, yeah, bring me that. And also, when you see the guy who's got the fillet and the guy who's got the little Cornish hens,
and the beef ribs,
send them.
Yeah.
Fucking send them.
Dude,
send them. Nobody just pass by. Everybody stop. Dude, I want the opportunity, motherfucker. Let me know.
Texas Day Brazil.
You know what? I don't even want it. Put it on the plate.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm eating it.
Dude, the Texas Day Brazil beef rib guy fucking hates me. Like, it's like the one guy that handles like just the beef ribs there, because like every time he sees me, I'm just like,
bring it.
Like because he doesn't. He's like, it's extra work for the guy that handles the beef ribs because he has to carry it on a platter, right? And not everybody asks for him. And he sees me, and I always see him. He's always got picanha until I get there, and then I'm like, I wave him down. I'm like, yeah, I'll take all those picanha on your blade, and while I'm eating these, can you bring the beef ribs? And he's like, yes. He's like, yes. And I'm like, cool, man, you know the deal. And that dude hates me because he tries to cut off a piece, and I'm like, no, you know to just leave the plate. And he's like, all right. And I eat those till I get sick because for some reason, because it's all fat, and my mouth's watering because it's so good. And then the dude, he goes back there, and he knows he needs to make another one, and then another one
like,
for everybody else.
I put my phone behind me so I don't look at Postmates right now to see what's going to be open. Like, because I'm trying to time it out where it's like if I order some shit 45 minutes before the podcast ends, maybe I get that 30 shrimp from Hooters. And
this is the real deal fat guy episode. This is the real deal fat guy episode. Fuck that other episode. We're fucking putting it to... We put it to shame. We put it to shame in like 20 minutes.
You know what we got to do now? We have to bring Morrison on an event where we go eating, and we have to make him...
show him.
We bring him up to our level.
Yes.
We show him what the Force is about. We show him the power of the Jedi. You know what I mean?
He can't handle it, man. I don't think he can handle it.
I think we can make him. I think Michael's a hard worker.
No, I know he could physically do it. I'm just saying, I don't think his heart could actually take it. Because as much as I say, like, I'm out of shape, and, like, Tom's out of shape, like his doctors who are, like, his friends are, like man,
Mike needs to drink water. That's his problem. He drinks whiskey instead of water.
Yeah.
Like,
he's very unhealthy.
All I drink is water, my
bad. Like, he's unhealthy, and in addition to us, he also has an unhealthy lifestyle. Like, I want him to do it, but like he has the lifestyle of a 20-year-old that goes out clubbing every night, but he's 37 for 10 years, you know, like
You keep saying that. That's fucked up.
Gene, how old is Mike? You know how old Mike is. He says he's 37. Bro. How many years has he been saying he's like 37?
38 or 39 this year.
I think he turned 38 this year, but like I could be wrong because he has been saying that for like ever and a half.
Thank you.
For as long as I know.
Forever,
like
right?
He was that actual age.
Yeah.
He was probably telling motherfuckers that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's funny as fuck.
Either he was saying he was older or he's older.
He's like he's like a fucking straight up Cuban where it's like, I'm 33 years old. And it's like, wait, what? You're 33?
You've been 33 for years, bro. Like
I am 12 years old. That's why I'm in the little league team, okay?
Yeah.
Where it's like, did you drive that Trans Am here? Like what? Like, is that your wife? Like,
yeah. No, I think you're mistaking your age with your 12-year-old sons because you have like a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. No. This is my cousin.
I play baseball for the Cougars. I have a good time with my friends, and I'm going to go to the pros. Don't pay attention that I'm 6'4" and fucking 275 pounds.
Yeah, that's Mike for real. It's that exact age though, Gene. Right? He's like 37. He's been telling people. He's 37 for like ever.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I think he turned 38 this year because I think we're around the same age.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like I could be absolutely wrong because
exactly.
I hope Mike isn't even like a human. I hope he's like a mythical creature that's just been bamboozling people for years.
I'm 37. And remember,
he's like an immortal.
He's like a pan. Like when he's alone, he pops up his pants and he's got little goat legs.
He got real weird though. Remember, Andrew?
We've seen Mike beat somebody with another human being.
Yeah.
I've seen
I mean, it's probable. But remember when we were shooting that episode of Chef'd Up and I talked to him about it? He got real weird about that. He was like, no, I just forgot. And I'm like, I know you drink a lot, but like even a drunk, like a hardcore drunk.
We drank a lot that day, that's for sure.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying, but no, it wasn't. He was like, we were halfway through drinking, which is still a lot, but like, I don't care how drunk.
I'm pretty sure.
But dude, I don't care how. And see, the other thing is too, he drinks heavy regularly, so that like, his drunk excuse was like loose with me, and I was like, "What year were you born?"
I
Quick.
think the edibles really got a hold of him though more than.
I was like, "What year were you born?" Quick, and he's like, and I was like, "Come on, man! I've never been so fucked up where I didn't remember what year I was born."
You gotta have him on, and you could like confront him like.
I actually, a couple times, people have asked me, I had to think about it. I'd be like, 82?
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. He was just like, it's, and like when you're looking up to make up a number.
That sounds like some shit an immortal would do.
Yeah, he was just like, and I was like, I knew it. What are you, like 40 something? He's like, no,
I'm gonna keep an eye.
I'm turning 38.
I think Mike has little goat feet.
Okay.
I think he has little goat feet that he could take off his human skin, and he's got little goat feet. His top half is the same, and he plays a little flute.
I honestly believe he's superhuman though, because like literally,
he's a freak.
Like
Best
it
way.
was like this one time at like there was this place. It was like an illegal nightclub at our friend's house called the Playground, and Mike was a bouncer there. So all of these like big giant thug dudes came there, and he's like, "Hey, listen, guys, we don't want any trouble. We're gonna ask you to leave because they started like some trouble or whatever." So like 8-9 of these guys jump on Mike, and they're like, stomping and kicking and punching, and then like I swear to you, bro, like some shit out of the Avengers. One lone fist rises up from the middle of these guys, bro, straight through, like pow, and you just see motherfuckers flying, bro. And then like they actually realized that they had made a mistake in that instance when he threw one upwards punch and like 5 motherfuckers flew back. So you see them like trying to get away, and it's just Mike systematically just dismantling these kids, bro.
Yeah. Like
he took this one guy by the back of the head and like he tossed them against the house, like up against the side of the house, dude just like KO'd. And then
everything about that guy is power. Like he strums the guitar like he's hitting it. He sings with like a pop, like with he's just a power hitter. And he even is like a good friend powerfully. Like he's got like, that's his like whole. He's coming with power. He's like one of those dudes who like if he bites down his mouthpiece and plants his feet, you're gonna get fucked up. Like and with everything he does, his work ethic is that same way. Like that's what I love about that guy.
I've seen Mike take on like fucking 5'6" Lentils like they were nothing.
Yeah, man.
Nothing, dude. Alone.
The only person I know that's like the same like power, but is much smaller in our group is JP, and it's crazy.
Oh, like, Josh Paul. Yeah, dude. Josh Paul versus Mike.
No, not Josh. Not Josh. John. Like the older brother, the littler Paul, apparently can do the same things that Mike can do, but is just and is like I've talked to Mike about that. Yeah, I've talked.
Dude. Like,
dude, I've talked to Mike about that.
Understands like the way the human body works to like some weird extent, because like I have seen him like lynch up motherfuckers in ways that I didn't even think were possible, bro. Like he got this one dude, like he got him by like his t-shirt, right? And he wrapped his fist in the guy's t-shirt and he just like slung him around that way. And just like, pow, pow. I was like, damn, dude.
And his power. He has like almost and he almost has the
big dude.
Yeah, and he almost has the same power as Mike though, which is the crazy thing. I've talked to Mike about that. I was like which one of the who would you rather fight, Josh or John? And he's like, well, I could beat Josh. And I was like, wait, you could beat John, but like John is smaller. He's like, yeah, but you don't want to get hit by John. And I was like, did Mike say you don't want to get hit by John? What? Wait, like that blew my mind. And then I started asking all of our friends. I'm like, is John like our fucking like the killer, the real killer of the group? And they're like, oh, everyone's
he's the time, bro. And it's funny because he's the quiet guy, you know? He's the quiet guy playing the video games, and he's just a monster, bro.
Dude, like I was telling Andrew about like the time James was telling me, like I guess like his arm was broken or something when they got jumped up in Port St. Lucie, and then like they were losing the fight, and James was like, hey man, can you like come save us? And John's like, my fucking arm's broken, and James was like, yeah, but like you can still win. And like John just goes and houses everybody, and then he's like, can you fucking take me to the hospital now? Like my fucking other arm's broken. Like that's like a fucking just beast of a human. Like, and like it was really telling. Like I said, when Mike says you don't want to get hit by John, I was like, okay.
No, that's the truth. And it's really weird because it's like innate. Like he's got just this innate understanding of combat. Like it's like inbred in his like genetics, you know.
Yeah.
Like you can see it in the way that he moves, and like it doesn't matter what it is. Like, you know, we used to do like the whole bamboo swords, like the shnais and shit. Bro, that motherfucker is a beast with a sword, dude. He's just like a natural combatant. Like if somebody trained that kid, he would be like.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Yeah, like he.
Some people just have a natural like control of their body that's like.
Yeah.
Even when you watch like professional athletes and professional fighters, some guys just move different. You know what I mean? Some guys just have more fluidity and they're smoother, and they just have a natural, innate, instinctual understanding of what to do and how to do certain things, how to put themselves in an advantageous position. It's like there's kids that you see come into certain gyms, whether it be like boxing, kickboxing, whatever combat sport, and they come in, it's like, oh, this kid could already fucking fight. Like now we just gotta like chip away some of the marble and reveal the statue that's already there. Like
I've always said this about the Paul brothers. If somebody had got a hold of them at a young age, like if
a custom model character, like
the Diaz brothers, like had gotten like they're like they both stumbled.
Gracie,
like if somebody had got a hold of them, like literally right now, like there would be a historic thing like the Diaz brothers versus the Paul brothers, like in UFC. That would just be a thing because. Because
not even like
like everybody talks about Josh because like the younger brother is the bigger guy and he's literally built like a fighter and everybody's scared of him, but like John is like another like fucking Goku power, you know, like just all of a sudden he's not Super Saiyan, but he'll hit you with the Super Saiyan punch and you're just like, I did not know humans could hit this hard kind of thing.
There are people that just have.
And they both don't take damage.
It just is what it is.
They both don't take damage either. They both don't take damage, just like the Diaz brothers. It's like, no, you can wail on me. Are you tired yet? Because I still haven't hit you yet. Like,
and it's like anything else, man. Like you'll start if you train even a little bit, you start to develop an understanding of what you bring to the table and an understanding of what is out there that other people have. Right? Like you get on the map. The strongest guy I ever experienced, like overall strength, was a 170-pound guy who was a gymnast.
That's like John. He looks like a skinny little
whereas
guy.
heavyweights,
but
bro,
just
like I'm a heavyweight. I'm a
hands of
strong
steel.
guy. For like 3 minutes, I'm strong as fuck. You know what I mean? Like for a round, I'm real dangerous. You know what I mean? But like most heavyweights start to wane. The strength changes, power changes after
Josh
5, 6, 8, 10 minutes.
Josh could have been a great heavyweight because he's like 6'4",
and this particular
250.
kid, this kid's name was Danny Fields, and we had a little grappling club, and we would get together, and he would grab you in the first minute of the round, or the 8th minute of the round, or whatever, and it didn't matter. He was strong the whole fucking time because he had that. The only guys who are strong like that are like fucking like bricklayers, mechanic.
Yeah. That's exactly what they did.
John did do like masonry for a while.
That's what they did, right?
Dude, my brother and I, when we were kids, we got a job.
We used to top block. Good point.
Dude, we got a job, me and my brother, with the same guy. My uncle had hooked us up doing construction in fucking Coral Gables. And like I was on the crew that was like literally breaking the ground like with a pick, and I had a guy with a wheelbarrow with me, and we're literally just opening up fucking like coral. Like it was fucking the hardest work I ever did in my fucking life outside of roofing in the fucking summer. And fucking I did that for a week, collected my check, and got the fuck out in the roofing job. But fucking
how many years did John do that for? Like with you,
dude,
right?
My brother, my brother
easy.
did bricks, like big cobbles, like he was like, loading them, unloading them, tamping them, the whole fucking shit. And I remember we got into a tussle with a couple of dudes in our neighborhood visiting our other brother. He still lived in our old neighborhood in Miramar, and we cleaned house really quick, man. We cleaned house really quick, and it was one of those where like I could fight. My brother was a scrappy kid. He grew up in the hood, like, but
1 week
it was one of those where when we were done, we were like, shit, that was like easier than fuck. Like we cleaned house. And my brother was what was so impressive because he's not, like, we always joke and say he's a lover, not a fighter. Like he'd be trying to fuck, not fight. And he cleaned a couple motherfuckers. Like he fucking, like, it was like a situation where like what was happening with him happened with him, and it took my attention off what I was doing for a second because I was like, for real, all right, motherfucker, like god damn, all right. And it was that year that we were fucking doing that work, man, and fucking my brother stayed doing that for a couple of years, man. He was cock diesel for those years, bro.
It doesn't matter if you stop too. Like that's a strength, like from bricklaying. Like
it's
you can't lose. You can't lose it. It's weird.
If you do certain shit long enough, it stays in you.
It builds the tendon strength as muscle, like as is stronger than other people's just muscle. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. And what I think really stopped John and Josh is like, their dad was like a semi-pro boxer, but like was a drunk and like failed out of it or whatever. And I don't think they wanted to go down that road. Also, too, Josh told me, because he's like 5 years younger than us, right, Gene? Something like that.
Yeah.
So like when we were like 25, 26 or whatever, and he like his kids were young, I was like, Josh, you should like get into like pro fighting because John doesn't like, he was a pacifist by then.
Though, man, it's a hard life to commit to.
But Josh, like, so John had like the power and like understanding of fighting, but Josh had like raw boxing mechanics and like would slip people, and I thought,
dude, like this kid's lean, bro.
Yeah,
oh my
dude,
God.
his reach, like, you know how long my arms are? Like, Josh and I are the same height, but his arms are 3 inches longer than mine, and my arms are like 3 to 4 inches longer than other people my height. So he's got like a 7 to 10 inch reach on people. So he just slips back and goes like, I can still get you. But regardless, right?
Wax him.
Again, you start to learn what your ability, like, it's like anything else, right? We all have this, like, these untapped superpowers, so to speak, and you don't know what they are. Like, if you do something as simple as like 3-4 rounds of bag work every 3 days, you're like way ahead of the curve when it comes to people who are doing nothing of the like.
Yeah. Well,
it's one of those things where. What's that?
They didn't do that ever. And what I was saying was, no, I know what they were doing, man. Like, John took too much LSD one day and listened to every Tool song and decided to be a pacifist after that and is just doing video games. And Josh, like I said, he was like going through shit with like his kids and everything. So like he was just trying to work, like he worked, dude. Josh works like a dog. Like he will provide no matter what, right? Like doing any jobs. Yeah. So like I knew he wasn't doing that. And then, but when I brought up, I'm like, you should try fighting, man. You could make some money. And this is why those two guys are dangerous, though, because they're super humble about their fighting ability. They're like Josh was like, no, man, I tried that. He's like, I thought about that. I went into like a boxing gym and I just tried to do my thing. And he's like, they picked me apart. They destroyed me. And I was like, but like you could learn. He's like, no, like those guys are killers. He's like, I'm just good. And I was like, okay. But I feel like if somebody had grabbed John and like they're just like jujitsu, like John would just, he would be one of the few people that would have the belt.
Because he's a really good grappler. Like he would have one of the like the I don't know, man, because I've seen this kid fight on several occasions, and he really understands how like body weight and like where to put pressure and things like that.
Because
like, he puts people on the ground real quick, dude.
Well, it's one of those things too,
he thought
man.
he killed
like
the guy.
Else.
He stepped through.
Like what the other guy said to Mike, like about the other, the guys in the boxing gym or whatever. It's like anything. There's levels to anything, man. Like there's guys that I get on the mat with and I eat their lunch, and then there's other guys that it's like, it's not even the same two animals on the mat. You know what I mean? Like so, it's anything like anything else. And there's guys who are your level that stylistically are going to bring something that's going to be a nightmare for you, and vice versa. Like
well,
there's guys.
That's
like,
why I wanted them to get into it young enough.
You know Gabe, right, Gene?
Yeah.
He was in my band. He was my bass player. He was a great grappler. Catch can guy. A really good wrestler. Really good. He had a small tool bag of submissions, but what he had in his tool bag was like sharp. Like it was all well tuned. And he was my best training partner ever because he couldn't catch him. He would scramble. He would fucking move constantly. Because my game on the ground is like control, pressure, and I'm very calm. That's like my best asset in every, I guess, aspect of combat sports. Like I stay real. I don't get bothered. And Gabe could bother me. You know what I mean? Gabe could bother me with the way that he would move and the way that he would set stuff. So it's like you learn what your that is, you learn what to develop, what you need to work on. It's like that shit is.
Who in MMA besides like Israel Adesanya is like Hall of Fame that learned almost everything?
You mean like as far as like what like
you
gamut of skill set or
like
striking or specifically or
no like the whole thing like
so the first guy who became like a devastating mixed martial artist to my opinion was Boss Rutten. Okay. Boss Rutten came in as a Dutch kickboxer.
A little bit younger. How about like our age? Is there anybody
you mean like
our
nowadays?
Age? Well, anybody that's our age, because like guys our age are kind of like too old, like just too old, you know?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying though. There's like eras, you know what I mean? So it's like all relative, like because also each era as you go, you have higher levels of guys coming in. Like the guys that I was competing with in the early 2000s and shit were bums in comparison to these kids that are coming in now. Guys who could like do the NFL combine and shit like that. You didn't have that level of athlete when I was competing. So like me, a guy who was a good kickboxer, I'll fuck up some of those kids with tricks and with knowledge or whatever. But there's kids that are just like, whatever you put them in athletically, they're going to excel because they just genetically are superior athletes. Man.
That's the Paul brothers, man. That's what I was saying. Like, I feel like Josh would have been like a mirror of the Diaz brothers, but like John is he's like another level of intelligence too, and is fucking Goku level.
Both those motherfuckers are actually really smart.
Yeah, but Josh's fighting style. Josh's fighting style, I could see him like adapting really well to like the Diaz, like just hit me, because that's his real life fighting style. Like he's like, no, I know what you can do, like, and I know you can't keep up because I don't take damage. You know, like Diaz brothers have their face hanging off, and they're just like, no, I'm still good to fight. I'm gonna fucking beat the shit out of this guy.
But again, it's like anything else, man. There's levels to that game because Nate got his head kicked off by Josh Thompson. Early in Nick's career, he ran into that. Well, so it's like.
But Josh is like more their style, the younger brother, right? But John, I feel like because when he gets into something, he understands. He like goes and reads every book and goes and learns from every teacher. If he was able to get with like a really
top-notch instruction and stuff
and he wouldn't sit with that guy.
He goes at it 100%.
Yeah, he wouldn't sit with that guy either. He would be like, if he were training with like one particular guy with jiu-jitsu, he'd be like, well, what are the holes in like your game, right? And they'd be like, well, this is the only guy that can beat me. And he'd be like, cool, I'm going to go train with that guy. And then he'd be like, well, what are your holes? You know, like
that's such an RPG video game way of like looking at it though.
But that's how he lives his life.
What I'm saying to you though is that like
human
to go, if you were to go to a gym, like let's say the gym I go to now and go to my instructor and try to deduce the holes in his game, you'd get
No, he wouldn't deduce.
It would be real bad news.
No, it wouldn't be like a right away thing. It would be like
right. That's what I'm saying. Like that's a lifelong pursuit. What you're talking about, man.
Dude, no, but he has the dedication though. Like that's what I'm saying. If somebody got to them young,
I've seen this guy like learn so much shit. Like I remember like when we were living
basically
together,
a beer physicist now.
It's like, oh man, I'm really getting into like like physics and this, that, and the other. Right. And like 2 weeks later, he's building a fucking robot and shit, and like knows how to use Arduino like the back of his hand, bro.
Yeah, like that's why I was saying, like if somebody got like
nigga, like you just started this shit 2 weeks ago. Now you're making a robot that can like sense fucking shit and move around by itself.
That's what I was saying.
That's how Gabe Stanley was.
Yeah,
man.
He's like a never was Hall of Famer of MMA. That he could have been like some ridiculous force. You know,
right?
Like a George St. Pierre, like who the fuck's gonna take him down, kind of thing. You know, like that's actually probably a better comparison because that's like a student, right, of the game.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those things, man. You just can never know what somebody can bring to the table until they're faced with certain levels of stuff, man. Like I can tell you from experience, like fuck with like a D3 collegiate wrestler. And then you'll find out if you can grapple. Like, don't even like fuck with like a D1 guy or an Olympic tier guy. Like, fuck with like a rich kid school, like a Yale wrestler or a fucking like.
But John Paul like has unintentionally because his brother has got him into fights with those kids, like. And they'll like trying to take him down.
I don't know the guy well enough to say either way. I'm just saying that like
no, I know.
It's like anything else.
It's just weird. He's a phenom that never got the opportunity to go there, and also doesn't want to. Like
this is the factor too.
Yeah, this is the motherfucker that now if he's put in a situation where he has to destroy like 5 dudes, he's sitting on the curb crying because he doesn't want to hurt people anymore. You know, like the only time I've ever seen him willingly and then not have remorse about like hurting somebody is the guy that broke into his brother's house while he was playing with his nieces, and John was like, I know your face, and then saw him at Publix a couple days later, broke the dude's face with one hit. He hit him correctly, like he hit him with a correct punch but with so much power that he broke his hand. So that dude's like, his friends were just like, you killed our friend, we can't do anything to you, like like what, like, and he ran away apparently. He's just like, gotta go, I got the guy I needed to gotta get out of here. But like that's a dude that doesn't have any fight in him anymore. But if he needs to, there's a lot of guys
that are capable physically, you know what I mean, like that you know, it's one of those things that it goes back to like you got to be careful who you fucking want to play games with out in the world. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you might get your shit pushed in.
We need to do a time machine.
We need to know who it is either. Yeah. You never know who it is.
We need to get a time machine and go back to the Paul brothers' house and just fucking like abduct them and drop them in a Gracie gym when they were kids and just be like, you live here now. This is what you do.
Well, like when I had my gym years ago, that's what I was like desperately in search of. I was hoping to find some kid who, you know, had the dedication, the drive, but
that should have been
a big problem, like man, is especially with guys. Too. Well, and again, and especially like with guys who are tough guys, man. Like if you've never been the nail, and you've only been the hammer, that's where a lot of guys leave. Like the first time they take a bad one, the first time they have to take an L, like a lot of guys, it's not easy. You know what I mean? Especially if you're used to winning. And
well, the other thing is, I saw that happen to the younger brother when he told me he went into like a boxing gym. And I was like, were you cocky or something? He's like, no, I knew I was going to get my ass kicked. I just needed to feel it. And I was like, like him saying that to me, I was just like, damn, man, he's like made of fucking brick.
And boxing gyms are not like jiu-jitsu gyms, bro. Most jiu-jitsu gyms are like friendlier, like, you know what I mean? Where the vibe is much more like, come on in,
that would have been better for him.
Yeah, but a boxing gym, you're going to get sized up quick. You might get gassed up. I think we might even talked about last podcast.
We did.
Where if you act like an asshole, if you act even remotely, or even if you just somebody don't like your fucking face, you might have somebody come gas you up and be like, man, you're looking good. You're smooth as fuck. You got a lot of power in that right hand, huh? That feels natural to you. You're natural. And then get you up in there to spar some fucking murderer and somebody just take you fucking apart and eat your lunch in front of you. Like,
well, I mean, the way he described it was like he was like really humble. He's like, hey, like, I just want to learn. It doesn't matter. I want to learn about boxing. But he looks like a goon.
If you weren't Cuban, Dominican, or Puerto Rican, you were gonna have a fucking long day. Like, if a white dude walked in, like a straight up white dude, like a fucking Buddy Holly
like
looking, that dude was gonna have a horrible night. If a Bahamian dude walked in, that dude was gonna have a horrible night. And you could win yourself a spot easily if you took the beatings or whatever. But like the truth of it is, like, those places are not friendly. It's not a friendly place. You have to really like want to be there for a long time until you get to stay.
Yeah, like, man, it's really weird to hear somebody that you're like, this guy is like, people don't fuck with this guy. Just be like, oh yeah, man, they just fucking they picked me apart, but I knew it was gonna happen. I was like, and I know he wasn't an asshole about it, because like, Josh can be an asshole, but he's not an asshole when he's like, you know, trying to learn something, you know, like he's trying to, like, he literally, like, I know he walked in there respectfully and was like, hey, I'm looking to start training, and they just were like, oh, you want to fucking go, white boy? And then like I know he tried to do his thing with his long reach, and I know they were probably just so fast that they're like, all right, you're still open, like.
Well, that's one of those things too, man. If you have a trick that you utilize, that you rely on, and it gets found out real quick, and you don't have more tool, and again, he might not have tried to be a certain way, but like said the wrong thing to the wrong guy, and look, the other night when we were talking to your friend, and you saw me kind of get turned off, and I told you my thing that I used to like to do when I was younger, when someone would be telling me about their fighting style, what they like to do. I used to like to bait people and be like, oh, show me. Yeah. Oh, dude, and then let them get away with it a couple of times. And then once they thought they were going to do it to me again, I would fucking just, end the night. Like, and
now that you're talking about that,
mean thing to do.
Now that you're talking about that, and like, I'm remembering like hanging out with Josh out, like, that's how a lot of Josh and Matt's fights started. Josh was like, oh yeah, you can box? And he'd be like, show me. And they'd get him. And he's like, oh yeah, it's pretty hard, man. You can hit pretty hard. And then he'd like duck a couple and he'd let him get him again. And I'm just like, oh no, here comes the fucking boom, like, at some point. And then like, he's like, okay, now I'm going to fight back. And they're like, oh yeah, cool, man, I think I got you. And he just like duck back, and then like full powers into a dude that's just like not ready for it. And then like just goes on the ground. And he's like, are you okay? And then like
6-point punch, like getting that like that instant 6-point connection punch. To where like,
and their friends didn't like that shit when he knocked. Oh yeah. And when he knocks down the dude, and then he's got 6 of his buddies there, and like, they don't want to see that shit, you know, like, oh, we thought it was cool, and he's like, no, he hit me harder than that, like, and they're like, no, and he's like, oh no, I just don't take damage, like, and they're like, well, fuck this, we're all fighting, and he's like, well, if we're all fighting, then here we go, like, you know, and then that's what you know, Josh, when he would get drunk and go out, he's like, who's the toughest guy? Who's talking shit? Like, I'm gonna go be friends with him.
That, like, in my lifetime, I have met multiple Titans, and they have all been very friendly to me.
Yeah, same. Well, no, you know what I think it is? Like, I think real killers, you know, like Andrew here, and like Mike, and like the Paul brothers, like, when we talk to people, when we meet somebody, we're not trying to like manhand them. We're not trying to fucking like strong arm. We're just like, hello, human. I heard my friends say that you're cool, so let's hang out, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, a human is talking to me. That's cool. I like this. Like, I want to talk to a human as well.
I'm at the point when I don't even like it when people reference certain shit about me, man. Like, I've had, many a friend be like, oh, this guy competed all over. Like, you've done that, Mike. Like, where you're introducing me with that. And it's like,
because
it's cool, it's whatever. But
no, like, but you tone it down a lot. Like, you don't even mention that you've like fought.
I'm so far MMA, past that stage in my life, and it's like, also people kind of judge you off of it. You know what I mean? Like,
but when I'm doing it, I'm not trying to like show off. Like, people are trying to like. I'm not. No,
you've tried to stop people from going to certain places before with it. I've seen.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, don't.
You don't.
Like, I've seen you do that before.
Yeah, I'm like, you don't know what I'm like, please stop, because this guy knows, has more just experience, like not even fighting, than you could like just on the mat, right? Just practicing, than you could ever hope to imagine to get in the rest of your lifetime, because these are his credentials. Like that's how I explain your dude.
No, I know. I've seen it a couple times. You tried to do it with our friend that night, but like it's one of those things where.
Oh, his mic's gone.
Lose Gene for a minute?
Maybe just for a minute. But no, I was gonna say, you tried to tell one guy that you're like, oh, I used to box, and I'm like, yes, I know you used to box, but like, you made money doing the other thing, you know?
It was my whole life for a long time. The thing is, like I said, people judge you, and then people get weird, man. People want to like.
I understand.
Like
that.
I know people. Yeah, I know people who like a couple drinks in, and then they're just telling strangers like, this guy will fucking kick your ass, and it's like. A thing all of a sudden, and then this person's also drunk, and they're like, "You said you kicked my ass." Like, no, I didn't say kick your ass, bro. Like,
here's the other thing.
It immediately goes to a thing.
Here's the other.
That was how I first met Patrick. The first time I ever met Patrick, I was working the door at Prop, and Mike introduced me to him. Like, this is Drew. He did MMA. He was like a legit. He traveled the world fighting, and then fucking. Patrick is drunk as fuck, being like, this guy will kill everybody here. Yeah. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, and that was when I was much closer to that stage in my life too, where like I might have fucking like treated myself to a couple scalps in a night. You know what I mean? Like,
man.
But you know, and also, frankly, I had to work really hard to get past a certain place in my life where like I like hurting people, man. It's like.
That's like when I say killer. That's when I say killer.
Like what I'm saying, like when you talk about your friends and stuff, like I almost am like, no, I just get what you're talking about, because like, yeah, man, like there's a lot of those guys. There's a lot of these dudes who like, you don't realize how much you come across somebody in the world who's just capable of what, like you don't know, like you know what I mean? Like people are wild, man. We're a wild creature. We're a fucking free chimp roaming the land, all of us.
You know that.
They're
other
all
thing,
dangerous.
Oh yeah, dude. The other thing that I was thinking about, because the way they all our buddies say, like, so the younger brother's like 6 years younger than like our main group of friends, right? And apparently John could hit like a fucking truck forever. So like all the stories they were saying is like they would like abuse like the younger brother, which is why like he can't take damage. Like they would like throw him into those giant spiky palms from like their clubhouse in the tree, and then when they would get down, the younger brother would just iron hands a child, like so like
my brother
he knows the dance, like he's like, so I feel like every time somebody else is hitting him, he's like, you can't hit me as hard as my brother. There's a thing
about younger brothers who are a certain proximity in age to their older brothers. Like my younger brother used to run with us all the time, ride bikes, play, whatever.
Yeah.
And he could hit. He's the one who would rather fuck than fight. But if he could hit, man, like if he wanted to train, he just had natural power. I remember him fucking around with one of my coaches and hitting mitts, and my coach being like, "Oh, you know," like being like, like you know what I mean? Like
he got power.
Shocked at his like just Warren can drive a golf ball 350 yards.
Oh damn!
Like without trying. He's like, we would get kicked out of driving ranges because he would clear the mesh net and shit. Like my grandfather used to get a kick out of it. He couldn't putt for dick, but and I couldn't drive.
He was Happy
Gilmore.
What's that? He was Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, and I was the opposite. I could putt all day like a sniper, and I couldn't drive the fucking ball 150 yards.
That's a legit team game in golf. Like that's a thing. Dude, you guys should have done something with that.
Fucking, it was just more like fucking around, but he had natural like. Just one
power.
He just could crack. And I think part of it is he had to like if he was hitting somebody, he was I saw Gene was frozen. But but if Warren was hitting somebody, he had to hit somebody that was my age. He had to hit somebody who was 3 to 5 years older than him, so he had to hit him hard. But fucking
hold on, let me
see if Gene comes back to us.
Let me fix this real quick here.
But yeah, man, that's that thing too. You can never assume what someone's capable of. Like you're talking about your friend, he's like a smaller guy, he's not a big dude or whatever. I know some little dudes who'll just fucking
you were talking about like some little Filipino dude at one gym or whatever they were saying was just like murdering people. I think that's the same guy that's in like the Masvidal videos from Miami, Because there's
Maybe.
like a Filipino guy that looks like a little bit older than us. That Masvidal, like whenever like he goes to shoot videos in the backyard fighting, he's like, this guy right here, this motherfucker, and people are like, that little guy, and everybody that's like from around there, they're like, I don't want, nobody wants to fight him, and like the way he comes,
dude.
like with, it's almost like a weird, like he kicks his foot back, and then he does the Superman punch too. It's like real deceptive. Like I watched him like pound a guy, and then the back, like he had the fist in the front of his head, but he hit him like so hard and pushed him through, and then the back of his head hit the little corner of the makeshift ring, and then he still pushed him through that, and I was just like, why is that guy not like professionally fighting? Fuck, dude.
Well,
like,
he may have been in smaller organizations too, and just catching that payday in the backyard. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe.
But again, there's some
Masvidal's guy right there.
I've been at where I seen a coach seen a grown man who's like being cocky and being bullyish,
and send the kid
grab like a 15-year-old kid that's been training his whole life and fucking just because if a big dude like me leans on you and bullies you and pushes you around, it's not going to be the same lesson as if a 15-year-old kid who's 145 pounds comes in there and wrecks house.
Gene said 1 second he's switching to his phone.
What's that?
Gene said 1 second he's switching to his phone. His tablet overheated.
Oh,
but that reminds me, have you seen that asshole boxer guy compilation video where like he challenges random people at the gym? Yeah, and then that motherfucker makes the mistake of going.
He's run into a couple people who have
where the MMA coach was like, you're gonna fight this 15-year-old that's like taller than me though, and the kid was like,
17-year-old kid, a beast of a kid.
Dude, and he just. That's one of my it was one of my favorite videos of all time. And then he chased
Deontay Wilder.
Oh, dude,
Deontay beat the shit out of that. Dude.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, and it was quick too. He was just like whap whap, and he's like,
don't ragdolled him, threw him around. Mm-hmm. There's a handful of videos of him getting his comeuppance.
Good.
That's one of those dudes, man. Where like, I wish he would have caught me at LA Fitness. Like I would like, could you imagine? I would love sandbagging a sandbagger like that. That would be such poetic justice where it's like, oh yeah, man, you want to just do a couple friendly rounds and wait for him to open up with that big right hand and then just rip his face off. Yep. I mean,
dude.
And I would be cheap too. If I knew he was gonna be cheap, I'd be cheap. I'd just kick him in his head.
Yeah. Dude, that's what that kid did. That's what that kid did. He like
That kid just beat threw him around, ragdolled him, whooped his ass.
He threw him around the whole gym. It was great. Like he ran out of the ring.
Run out of the ring and run all around and shit. He's a pussy, that guy.
Yeah, dude.
I think he's like really bad at mental illness.
Yeah, I can tell. And then the way he talks shit is like, I was like, are you trying to die? Because like, are you the Deontay Wilder thing? Like, I know he had seen him from the internet, and he talked shit to him so much that he's like, no man, come on in.
Yeah.
Come on in. He's like, I'm not a crazy person like you. Yeah, he invited him into his gym, and he's like, you can try all that sheep shit with me, and it's fine. Like, he was so calm. He was so calm.
Honor. I mean, the legit honor to get in the ring. I believe it was with Roger Mayweather.
Okay.
Floyd.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah. And because he said he would.
Him.
Yeah, he said it was.
So he was getting his ass beat by a dude who's like 60 or however the fuck old Roger Mayweather is. And Roger basically beat him to the corner, beat him to the post. He fucking turned around and tried to sucker him when Roger was walking off, and fucking, I think like a nephew or something jumped in the ring and fucking blasted the young kid, small guy too, beat the shit out of Zelenoff, threw him on the ground and started cracking him on the ground. Like, that's what I'm saying. You catch a kid like that. You catch a kid who's been going to Mayweather's gym since he's 7.
Yeah, man.
Catch that kid, catch a 145-pound 17-year-old who's been going to that gym for 10 years and fucking watch what he does to you, where he hits you with a 6-piece combo to your dome, and as you're trying to collect your thoughts, he hits you with a digger to your body that you don't know how to cope with. You know what I mean? Where all of a sudden, like, oh, that fist actually contacted my liver. Yep. I felt it hit the act. I didn't know that's what it felt like to hit my liver, but now I know that it hit my liver.
I think that's something everybody should feel, like a paralyzing shot to the liver. Yeah, that should, because I remember the first time, like it was when I was young and like scrapping in Stockton, man. Like some kid, like I jumped to try and like miss his kick, and he just lifted it up, and like the knee shin bone joint like area just caught me in the liver, and like it's that surprise, that first time you get hit like that, I was just surprised. I was like okay, no, I think we're done. I was like, breathing is very weird right now. And the kid was even like, it was real weird because, like, I don't think, I was like, something happened on the inside. And, like, and immediately, the whole group of kids, like, it turned from, yeah, to, like, uh-oh, are we all going to get in trouble? I was like,
those moments where something happens
what's
to you
happened?
You can't explain.
Yeah,
it's so terrifying.
Like, and I was a kid too. I didn't have the words. I didn't have the words.
I got like judo thrown in elementary school. There's a kid named Roger, and he we were talking shit to each other or something, and he just flipped me on my shit. And I just remember being like, going from like a shoving match or whatever we were doing to like all of a sudden like sky, floor, sky, ow, and fucking like, and being like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Like, it's so shocking. Or even the first time you get the wind knocked out of you is like a shocking experience when you're a little kid. You're like, am I dying? That shit is wild.
Yeah, man. Like, I remember all these things. And like I said, man, my mouth got me into fights that I couldn't, like, checks that I couldn't cash all the time. And, like, I've been beat, like, bad. And, like, that's fine. Like, I'm still alive. I'm still okay, you know? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I don't think people know that, like, if people don't understand that, like, if you get channel locked. What do you mean channel's locked? It's not locked.
Do we have to allow him in or whatever?
Oh, he's in the wrong room. You are
in the wrong room, Gene.
Oh, because he's not, for some reason. Okay.
You're in the wrong room, Gene Machine.
Yeah. And then you gotta turn on your camera, friend.
Turn on your camera, Genie.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You gotta press the video button. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess cause I was running my program and streaming at the same time and drawing. It was just like, fuck that.
You try to do a lot on that thing, I noticed. So here's the other thing. Let's talk to Gene about this. Gene, you're like a crazy good artist and have been for a while.
Not really, but you know.
No, you have the same thing that we were talking about with John, where like if you want, like you like a style of art and you want to get into it, you go 100%. And I think that takes you further than you think you are, you know?
I think it's like that. I think it's. I forget what it's called. It's like the Dunwig something effect.
Like the 10,000 hours.
Like when you start, you think you're like actually good, you know, and then when you start learning, you realize how much you don't know.
Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah, Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah.
And like I think I'm at that point because like I was really really good when I was like in high school, like really really good. And like I went to the School of the Arts for like 9 weeks, and then like I got kicked out because one of my deans from my previous school like sent them like every last horrible thing I've ever done in life. Like, and they were like, yeah dude, we can't have you at our school even though you're like an amazing artist or whatever. So you know, and it always came natural because I'd been drawing since I was like a 4-year-old, you know. So like when you get like 12 years of experience every day, it just comes natural. So like it wasn't that big deal to me, you know, to like draw something. It was amazing, whatever. Like one of my art teachers, she was always like, why do you throw away your sketchbooks and shit? Because like, you know, what if one day you're not able to? I'm like, bitch, get out of here, bro. And I should have known, you know, like, in hindsight is is this year. So I should have known when she said that. Like, I should have known better, but I was like, oh no, man, I'm always gonna be drawing. I'm just gonna get better. Why the fuck would I keep this old shit, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, and so like I stopped drawing for like 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
That's why when you got that tablet, when you got that tablet, I was like, oh, I think this is gonna be good because like it's all there on your tablet. And one of my favorite posts that you do is like your yearly updates of like your first thing that you did on the tablet. And then like how you are now, and then like you're even like, and now you've done that for like a couple years. That's one of my favorite things. I love seeing like
art posts are the best. Yeah,
you're like already awesome like at the beginning, and then like your progression is like crazy. And I think the second time you did it, you were like,
I'm trying. But you know, the really weird thing is though, is like you never realize how much you take for granted until you have to learn it for real. Because I never had to learn art. I never listened one single day in any art class whatsoever. I was just like, yeah, bro, my brain knows how to do this shit.
yeah,
You know, like foreshortening. Oh yeah, whatever perspective. You know, suck my dick. I'm a fucking pro.
Yeah.
You know, I was like one of those cocky teenagers. And like, so now actually learning the shit that goes, I'm like, bro, this is fucking ridiculous.
yeah. I could
Like,
see
just,
the
like,
levels.
understanding all of the stuff that it takes.
Yeah, I could
You
see
know,
your
to,
levels, like
get,
you
like,
leveling
what
up.
it is that you're aiming for.
But I can see you leveling up. And
It's ridiculous.
yeah, and like one of the things that I said at the beginning of talking about like your art was like you document, you're like, this is like 0 hours, right, on the tablet and like learning and taking classes, right? And then you're like, the next year was like, this is like 12,000 hours on the tablet taking classes, and it was like night and day. Like both were great, but one was like amazing. And then you did that again, and you're like, this is like it's like 50,000 hours on the tablet. It's just like that's like years, but like you're not sleeping and like doing like the projects and shit.
like,
I can tell to get
you know,
better.
I tried for a while. Like, what really started it was like, I was like, I am willing to do just horrible shit that I do not enjoy for 8 hours a day for guap, you know? So like, why not do something that, you know, like I enjoy?
It was a
You know,
conversation
for myself. Because like,
when John Paul was visiting. It was a conversation I saw you guys have about that, and John Paul brought up like the 10,000 hours to like perfection thing.
yeah, to become like an expert.
Yeah,
Mastering, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you were like, "Oh man, that's crazy!" And you just got the tablet, and like you were showing him stuff, and he's like, "That's cool." And like he did the math for you. He's like, "If you do this many hours per day, you will be an expert in this amount of time." And you were like,
in this amount of years.
"Yeah." And but you like overshot it was the crazy thing. Like you're like, "Oh damn, well what if I do 12 hours and I only need to sleep 4?" And
For
like
a long time, I put
yeah.
in like 8 to 10 hours a day.
Well,
'Cause,
he
like,
was
for some reason my brain is retarded and I can only get 4 hours of sleep a day.
That's what
like,
you were saying. Yeah,
It
later.
doesn't matter where it is I fall asleep, I can only get 4 hours, and then like
I'm
up
very
instantly.
similar to that. Holy
Same,
shit.
yeah, all of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing because, you know, sometimes like I'm having an awesome dream and my brain's like, all right, bro, you've had your 4 hours, get the fuck up.
Get up.
And I'm like,
You
My
completed
brain-
one REM
hours,
cycle.
If I sleep longer than 6 hours, I'm like actually fucked up. I'm like, shit's not firing right. Like it's like too much.
Yeah. No, I totally understand.
yeah.
Man.
So like I got this program. It's a program for like if you own a company and it keeps track of everything people do on the computers, you know.
Oh yeah, and you
like,
tracked it too.
you know,
That's
like,
right. I
what-
remember.
Yeah, so I started like keeping track of that, and like, you know, being a gamer, it like at that point it became kind
Okay.
of like, you know, unlocking an achievement
Yeah.
or something.
Yes.
You know? I'm like, oh, well, I did, you know, and you know what's really funny is video games is what really made me realize like how much I could really do because like one of the new Final Fantasy games came out, and like within like the first month I had like 130 hours on that game while also doing like 4 or 5 hours a day on the tab. I'm like, dude, if I can pull
Just take that.
140 hours on a video game in a month, I could easily do like 8 hours a day, you know, like
Yeah.
for like the drawing thing. And like I've been trying to like stick to it, and like I haven't personally noticed any sort of like improvement, but like when you're in it, you really can't
It looks
tell,
the same
you know?
to you.
Yeah, exactly. Cause like I found like a couple of like my sketchbooks from like a long time ago, like cause like I think like maybe like 7 years ago I started drawing again, and then I stopped because I was like, oh man, this is garbage. I'm not gonna do this. And like I found those sketchbooks. I'm like, damn, dude, this is awesome. Why the fuck did I stop? Like, you know, I was like, if I was at this point right now, I would be a happy motherfucker. You know, but like at that time while I was doing it, I was like, man, this is garbage. I'm not even gonna continue doing this. So like I'm sticking to it regardless of what it is that I think, you know, right now, because like a lot of people say that they actively see improvements. So I'm like, it's gotta be, it's kind of like that, body dysmorphia. It's like it doesn't matter what you look like to yourself. It's fucking horrible. So.
Also,
I just figure, you put the time in, and
also the other thing is too. I remember since you got that tablet, you started getting work too, right?
Yeah. I started doing I did some freelance work. I've done like a couple like children's books, and like I'm hoping one of those motherfuckers gets published eventually.
Also,
because they have like NDAs, so you can't show anybody fucking anything. But like I did them bitches, and honestly,
keep churning them out.
If you get one kid's book, bro, and it's like big or whatever, and every school has it in that bitch, you're fucking set, dude.
That's it.
Like,
here's another thing. You know what was crazy when actually it was when the three of us and Mike and John were all over, and when you and Mike were first starting the Midnight Fires stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking to Gene about like stuff he's done, and he's like, "Oh, I did this ad for like this really good guitar player, like Sarah Longfield." And
Sarah Longfield.
Dude, like she is a goddamn fucking technician on that fucking guitar. She shreds harder than most people on the planet. And once he said that, I was like, "Excuse me?" She's fucking like YouTube huge. Like, yeah, he's done ads for her, which is like crazy because. Yeah. And she likes really cool artistic stuff.
I didn't even know who she was.
But
it was like, hey, Sarah Longfield, she wants you to do this thing because she like some random like flyer that I did for somebody, and they're like, Selector Josh, she wants you to do this thing for like her Halloween thing. I was like, okay, whatever, And I just did fucking drawing, and then it was like on her like Instagram or some shit, and somebody's like, dude, is that your shit on blah blah blah's Instagram? I'm like, who?
Dude,
I didn't know she was like anybody. I thought she was like some local band or something.
No. She's like this 25-year-old from like the Midwest.
Yeah, I started checking out her videos after you told me that, bro. That bitch shreds.
Dude, she is like
she fucking shreds.
She's like another level good for like guitar players. Like she's like the way we thought people shred when we were younger on guitar. She's like, oh yeah, no, I can do that with just this hand. And it's like, yeah, no, I believe it. That makes sense. Like, you're fucking stupid good. Like, she's so good, man. Like, she just puts like your guitar heroes to shame. And as soon as and Gene just threw out her name casually, like, oh yeah, you like music, right? I did like this flyer for this Sarah Longfield lady. And it's whatever. Okay. Just one of the best guitar players on the planet. She saw my stuff. I was like,
that's a pretty great accolade for like the level of your work, dude.
Right? That's what I was saying. Like,
yeah, like I didn't even know she was like anybody like famous or anything like that. It was like, and it was really weird too, because like it was like some like random I think it was like a cover photo I did for one of my friends that lives in like Kentucky or some shit. And like
yeah, and she was like, that's good.
She was like, oh, I want that person to do the fucking artwork on my flyer for this fucking show we're having. I was like,
dude, that's so dope. Like,
I was just shocked about how much money like I was receiving from it. I was like,
yeah, because she's got like millions of followers on the internet because she's so good at guitar.
I didn't know that. I was like, I do flyers for much cheaper than this, but all right.
Yeah, dude, she's got the money to get to because she's fucking huge, man. Like, and she's like, ridiculous artist.
I was shocked that you knew who she was because I didn't. I was like, yeah, some chick.
I'm a guitar nerd, of course. I'm a music nerd. Like, that's why dude, Andrew, he said it so nonchalantly that I stopped. Like,
but it's not even remotely shocking to me. Like, he downplays his artwork, but like I draw. Like I feel like I'm a pretty good artist, and I look at Gene's shit like, God damn, every time I see some of his shit. So like, for me, like, to hear you be like, yeah, it's this, that, like, man, fuck you, your shit is fucking. I want you to make a shirt for our shit, like, badly. I want to.
I will 100% make a shirt for you guys.
I want you to do like I like Andrew's logo, but like you can vector a logo or like, you know what I mean, like do us like a cool logo. I want you to be like a part of like like the channel, like with your art,
LSD
you know,
family.
the LSD family, you know, like because your art's fucking amazing, like
I'm
worldwide
actually gonna
touring
keep
acts.
It's like that's the name of your podcast, and that's been like my call tag in every video game for like since I can remember.
Perfect,
For like the last 20
perfect
years.
together.
Yeah, man.
There you go, man.
Shit. And I got some other shit I want to talk to you about regarding artwork anyway, Gene. Like we have some stuff to talk about that we didn't get to last time I was down. Fucking
Speaking of which, that song that you and Mike did, my God, bro! Like I started drawing a storyboard for it because like seriously, man, that song has so much like deep, impactful imagery in the
which
words.
one? Which song?
The one that starts off and you're like, you know, it's like, old man, I've been gone for like 100 days or something.
No, I actually have a
like
I have
the
a
crazy
surprise for you,
cyberpunk
Andrew.
shit that you're gonna see off of that song, bro. You're gonna fucking love, dude.
All right then,
I'm excited.
Gene.
Like, I have a whole story,
All right
like
then,
written because of like this one song.
Gene.
Like, I must have listened to that song like easily 120 times, bro.
I have a
like,
secret.
Oh man, that is a massive compliment. Thank you so much.
I have a secret live recording of them playing that someplace, Gene, with very good audio and very good video. So I think you and I need to work together to like make them like a present or something with that.
Yes, like seriously, like I fucking love this song so much,
good.
dude. Like
we're trying to tell stories, man. That's
like just like I don't like the way that like the lyrics work out and the way that you sing it, like it built this whole world in my head, dude. Like seriously,
that's
and
awesome.
And it was really weird because like, you know, I like Mike was talking about it online, you know, and then like I was like, oh dude, let me listen to the song, and then I play it and I'm like, oh my God, my nigga, what? Like I was like, this is it right here. This is it right here. So I started like drawing like I said like a storyboard for it, you know, because it like the way that the song goes, it's like a person speaking to like 3 different people, like, you know, his daughter, like his wife, and then talking about himself specifically, you know. So like, oh man, like I'm.
Look
wait
at
till
that.
you see it, Andrew. I'm gonna
Look
like.
at
It's
look
gonna
at
be
that,
like,
Gene. Look
For
at that,
me,
Gene.
that song literally is like I'm talking to the 3 most impactful people in my life, like my granddad, my wife, and my kid. Like those are the 3 deepest influences, I guess. So man, the fact that
Dude, look, I got the smoke. Oh man, it's all done. I got the smoke going
the
across
fact
the
that you
screen,
got
too.
so much out of it, it's like the highest compliment you could pay me, man. Like, because we're trying to tell stories, you know what I mean? We're trying to like.
No, you definitely told a story because like it got me, like grabbed me by the balls. I was like, this is the story right here, bro. And like and you know, it's really weird because like not until like 4 years ago, like did I realize that people like got pictures in their heads, like they could actually physically see
imagery
images and videos in their head. Like I thought that was like just like a turn of phrase, you know. I didn't know that was a thing because I don't see images in my brain. It is like total darkness. I hear lots of voices. Like most of my thoughts are like emotions and audio.
Really?
And like I didn't know that people actually got like visual fucking like so
Like
like
the
that
full
blew my fucking
stimulation?
mind.
Nice.
But like when I heard that song, bro, it built the whole world. Like it's like, you know, this like semi like western like, you know, gritty like cyberpunk setting, you know, and like the way that like it starts, you have like the daughter speaking to the father, you know. It's like, old man, I haven't seen you in 100 days, you know. I've been like, you know, trying to do less drinking and drugging in the whole process, you know. And like, you know, she's trying to like speak to him to get him to come back home, you know. And then like it goes and like it's the man speaking to his wife, and it goes to the story of like him and his wife and like how like, you know, they go through this process and, you know, like the government's hunting him down, and then eventually like his wife dies, so it's just him and the daughter left. And so he like walks off with, you know, the tiny daughter, and eventually he teaches her, you know, like the process as, you know, you're explaining how, you know, she held up to the namesake of like, you know, her mother or whatever. So it's like him like training her how to be like, you know, this badass that him and his mom
It's very
were or whatever.
Fallout-esque. Like
And then,
Andrew likes.
and then like, you know, the whole process ends with like, you know, he sends her like, you know, his like cowboy hat and his pistol. That's like, you know, like his sign to her that like he's done, You know, there's no more of him, and she's the one that's carrying on, like, you know, like the torch to go on. Dude, like, you have no idea, like, the sort of like crazy world building that happened from listening to that song. Like,
that makes me so happy to hear, like, that gave you that, especially somebody who I look at as like just such a tremendous artist, who, like, when you post shit, it inspires me to, like, I need to get a sketch pad out. Like, Gene, that was fun. Like, some of the stuff you put, I remember for Arttober, I think last year, you fucking rocked my shit, like, on a weekly basis.
Oh yeah.
And like had me drawing like on like heavy that whole fucking month, literally because of your posts. Fucking.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's hearing you say that about my music, that really, like, that brings me great joy to hear that I, like, was able to
great joy, dude. Like, seriously, I've listened to that song easily hundreds and hundreds of times, man. It inspired me. Like, the tale was there. Like, it, like, that's something that wouldn't have existed had I not heard that song. And it's a world that is, like, solidified in my brain, you know. Like,
bro,
I know, like, the history, like, the culture.
Wait till you hear a couple of other story songs, bro. You're gonna fucking. I think if you like that,
I'm 100% hyped, because like I said, like, when I heard, like, that song for the first time, I was like, oh man, like, you know, this is like, you know, it's like a tale. It's meat and potatoes. You know, you can sink your teeth into it. It's good.
You know,
it's good. Like,
you know what I like about Gene too is, like, he's not if he doesn't like something, he's not nice about it still, you know, regardless if it's your friend or not, you know.
Yes.
Like, it makes me kind of sad that you didn't get to hear, like, any of the Void Engineer stuff, Gene.
No, man, I listened to, like, all that stuff with Adam, bro. Adam,
oh yeah,
like, 100%. Yeah, no, that shit was fucking amazing. And the thing I really liked about, like the Void Engineer stuff is, like, it had, like, that kind of, like, epic, you know, like, grand, like, you know, kind of, like, sound to it.
It's movie music,
fucking heavy, bro. Like, you can feel the weight of that music.
That was the whole thing that I was going for, and I was glad that they went on that journey with me. But that's the whole thing. Like, that was good, but, like, what Mike and Andrew doing are, like, a whole nother level of, like, real storytelling. Like the way you described, like, how that made you feel is what I was trying to, like, pull out of, like, Elliot, Adam, and TJ, like, that we could do without words, you know? And, like, I feel like if you liked that kind of music that I liked, you could hear it, but otherwise, like, it just would get you, like, feels from our stuff.
It was definitely something that, like, reminded me of, like, a great epic, like, some, you know, like,
they were like 16-minute
not
long
like
songs.
Some ancient type shit, you know. I'm talking about, like, in the vastness of space.
Well, that was
like,
our
I really
whole
got
thing.
a lot of that from the music. Is like it's like that whole, like, you know, like, the emptiness of space, and I think the weight of the music is what gave me that, because it felt like you were always, like, under pressure, you know.
Yes.
Like,
a lot of building pressure. Yeah.
Dude, that's why I kind of want to, like we're doing this, like, this thing now, which I really like with the four of us, where, like, Elliot wrote, like, a stoner metal, and I'm, like, doing, like, High on Fire and sleep vocals, and everybody's like, it sounded pretty good. But I want to do, like, old Void Engineer stuff with Andrew singing. Like,
yeah, I'm down, man. I'm super down for that.
Like, the passion that he's got over, like, a 12-minute Void Engineer epic.
Like, oh yeah.
Like, I want to hear him write something about, like, a lot of the emotion that I know that we pull, like, that we get out of people with the old Void Engineer stuff is, like, this, like, the loneliness of being, like, the solitude of space. And I want to hear, like,
you know, Andrew, what I'm thinking about, though,
sing about
Mike,
something like that.
Based on, because I've listened to probably like 8 minutes or so of your stuff on the Spotify or whatever. Is that Spotify?
The SoundCloud. The SoundCloud.
Yeah, SoundCloud. That's what SoundCloud. Fucking, and what it made me think of, honestly, that video that we reviewed, the Solomon Burke video, where you're talking about that seated against the cage position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's, like, similar.
That lost in yourself, that moment of, like, what you said, like, people are cheering for your demise. Like, there was a couple of those, like, we've talked about before. We both have a similar affinity for, like, emotional porn, almost, where we're like emotional masturbation, where it's like you're like making yourself feel some things to, like, for whatever broken thing we are, like fucking because we need to.
Yes.
But like even like for me, like going back to like the trail, like the song that Gene, like that song, I wrote that on the heels of my grandfather passing away in 2018 with Mike. And the old man had literally been dead less than 100 days when we wrote that song. And like,
that's what I'm saying, man. Like your emotion in your lyrics and like your raw like singing, I feel like over like Gene said, the weight of the music. I think that might like that could be that's something where like you were talking about like it can't ever get popular, but I feel like the combination of those two things could like just be like it could like
be down.
It would
I want to make
murder
cool shit.
it would
I just want to
murder
make cool shit every day.
everybody that would listen to it, you know? Like no matter what genre, you would just be like, this is just great. I don't know how to do
back
anything.
to like what you were talking about that band that is in the 28 Days Later.
Oh, Cult of Luna? Yeah.
That same kind of like building, grinding.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a couple of like parallels I could see towards like Floyd, and then also towards stuff like Black Angels, like Young Men Dead, like down, and like it's a lot.
Keep doing reaction videos. I love reaction videos.
Oh yeah.
It's really weird because like like it's strange like what people like watching. I always like ask people what kind of shit you like watching on YouTube. For some reason, I am a huge fan of the reaction video. I don't even understand.
Dude, I enjoy it too.
We have a lot of fun doing it.
Like I don't even understand why. Like, but like it's something that I just love the fuck out of this reaction video.
Yeah,
it's like
how people react more tomorrow, I think, right?
Yes, we are doing them tomorrow. Yes, and I dropped the last one a day late this week, where I think it's just going to be Wednesday because I get wrapped up with the weekend. I need to get them out on Tuesday. That's it. Just need to get them out on Tuesday. Because then we've got Tuesday, reaction video drop. Wednesday, like the live call-in podcast. Thursday, our good podcast. And then Friday, like a break. And then, like you said, Saturday, Tom eats it. Like,
yeah.
And then, like, I want to get, like, Oliver and Alonzo to do something, like, one day. Like,
that kid Oliver, man, he's fucking awesome.
That was
he's
great,
like,
right?
Yeah, dude, really great musician.
I saw him on your show. I friended him on Facebook. Like, that kid is fucking awesome.
Dude.
He's got pipes. He can play. Like, yeah, that dude is a star.
And, like his big brain. Like,
brilliant.
Great.
Yeah.
He's not enticed by either side of the
Honestly,
of the
that's been one of the
landscape.
best aspects about this podcast. We've broadened our, our thought pool, our brain trust, so to speak. You know what I mean? And even reconnecting with friends like Gene here. Like, I haven't seen this guy since that day that we were hanging out over at Morrison's.
Oh, really? That was the last time I saw him, too. That was the last time I saw him, too, I think.
Being able to reconnect via this, especially through the pandemic and shit, it's actually been the seeds of so much creative growth, I feel like, for us and our friend circle, where we've actually like had a lot of little things sprout from this, and fucking that's it's been special for that. This whole like fucking groove, man.
But when I'm even meet, by the way, like, because like you guys are from like two complete opposite like spectrums of like my friend circles.
We met on I guess Andrew said he had been like lurking my interactions with people on Mike's posts on Facebook.
From Morrison, because I'm not a big like back and forther. I'll watch a lot, and every now and then I'll get involved. But I watched a couple of times, and just like you let people show you who they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and Mike just was a logical guy.
And I think it goes back to what you were talking about, how like you used to like let people that thought they were fighters like do the stuff, but like I do that, but on Facebook I'm like no I'll let you show me your shit.
Dig your hole, stand in it,
and then I just reveal everything, and
I think
they
also
can't handle it, and I love that.
When we started hanging out too, you had gone through something where somebody had threatened you within our little circle, and you were kind of like in your head about it. And I just remember feeling too, like, man, this dude's a nice dude. He's a dad. Like, I feel really fraternal with dads like myself.
Yeah.
And then Mike had also vetted you, so to speak. You know what I mean? Because I told you, I was like, this motherfucker just a human troll. Am I going to go to this Chinese restaurant and nobody's there? He's going to take pictures of me eating crab rangoons on my own. Fucking sad fat man looking for a friend. Fucking. But we shot the shit and we knew a lot of the same people, mutual friends. And it was like one of those things, too, where every time we're like, oh, yeah, you know this fucking person? Oh, you know that? Like, there was like a lot of that. Like, you know so-and-so too? Shit. Like, and so that was cool. But then also, too, you know, you make a lot of friends like that. And then you get to a certain point where it's like, okay, cool, we're friendly. You know? We actually like start to become friends. You know what I mean? Like, and hang a lot.
We're talking like girls till like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I was like to my wife, I was like, Crystal, this is like my new best friend. Oh no.
Yeah.
Like she's like, well, he better be, because you were talking to him when I left for work this morning. And I was like, oh yeah. And I was like, well, okay. But yeah.
We got into a political conversation, and it just like, It's and the other thing too, with the advent of like all this absolutism around us, I think having this little like ability to like talk to everybody and see that everybody's still like fucking mostly normal in our friend group and mostly not.
You know, and that's the thing too, like you were saying about the absolutism, like it's becoming like such a big issue. Like, you know, you figure like 4 years ago when like the elections were coming around, it wasn't this bad. Like, you know.
No.
Like it seems so sensationalized at this point. It's like you're either part of like, you know, the red team or the blue team. There's no other team, you know. And like
the crazy thing is,
it kind of seems to me kind of like sports teams, you know, because you know how like you're fucking Dolphins fans, regardless of how much shit the team is. That's your team. You're gonna root for it at every fucking goddamn game, regardless. And it seems that's what politics has become now. You know,
exactly.
Like, and you know what's crazy
I'm part
though?
Of this team.
Like I think a lot of people are like have seen. It's really weird. Like I understand that like fuck this team, but then like one team is like killing people, like for real, you know, and the other team's like, well, we just want to be able to say what we want, and it's like. I know growing up these were the bad guys, but at least they're not burning cities to the ground, you know? So like I don't want to have to vote for them, but if me voting for them stops these people from like chanting in front of a hospital, we hope you fucking die, to like
the
officers that got shot in
the face. Because
as
soon as they're not convenient, the name tag, they just move it over to something else. So like
but that's just with the violent. But that's what the violent
all
side.
of us 10 years ago were liberals.
Yes.
We would have been considered liberals. And now we haven't changed. The line has moved.
Yeah. It moved like more extreme.
We're considered like neoconservative or whatever.
And all we do and that's the other thing too. We're like I told you about that generation, Andrew, of like 16 to 21-year-olds. They're the most centrist.
Genius eye.
Yeah, they're like Gen Genius, and like they are the most center demographic of people ever, and the left considers them the most.
Their parents are extreme assholes.
But no, here's the thing, and the left considers them the most conservative generation in history, just because they're center, man. Like just because they're center, they're like, oh, super. Like it's really weird. There's more of them than any other generation, and they're the most conservative. Mike, and they're just like, no, we're not. We're just not retarded.
How many times on Facebook, Mike, have I said like just something centrist as fuck and been accused of being a Trump supporter?
Like, oh, that's what a Trump supporter would say.
You would like that, Trump supporter. And then they like read my last name and the tune changes, or I'm like, fuck Trump and fuck you and fuck Biden and fuck your mom and your grandma. I don't give a fuck about none of that.
Yeah.
And you know when I knew it got bad is like, and it's funny because it involves Mike. So I'd seen this exchange that he had with somebody under like an AOC post, and like you know the person went through the whole spiel. Mike responded. They went through the whole spiel. Mike responded, and then like he just got like vehemently like violent, right?
Yeah.
So like Mike makes a comment. You know, because like I posted something about her, you know, and he makes a comment about her, and I literally cut and pasted this conversation that he had with this person, and he kind of caught me at the end. He's like, "You don't live in New York," and I'm like, "Oh fuck!" I didn't even like read the whole thing, you know. And I literally cut and pasted like this conversation that he had with this other woman in our conversation, you know. And like he had gone through the same monotonous bullshit that even though that it was the same exact sentence, like the same exact sentence he read less than a few hours ago, like he didn't like come to that conclusion because that's how many times he's seen that same exact sentence. That's when I knew like that shit was getting bad.
Yeah.
When like, you know, people just like, you know, they were just becoming mouthpieces
NPCs.
for like a narrative.
They just slogan chant. That's it.
NPCs, bro. Do you see me calling people NPCs on Facebook, Gene? They don't like that shit. It's like, and I feel like it's only funny to the people that are like center or like even center right a little bit because like, and that are our age because they're like, oh shit, yeah, that is a fucking NPC thing. And you know what the other thing is too? If I call a person on the right an NPC, it breaks them out of their NPC loop and they start either being violent, which I'm like, that's cool because that's their original words, or like they go like, oh yeah, man, like this is a weird narrative that's like going on. If you call a person on an NPC on the left, they're just like, well, I would expect like they go into a different sub-route of their NPC script, and you're like, you're just proving my point, man. I can show you, like Gene said, I can copy and paste like dozens of conversations of people saying the exact same bullshit you're saying. Like, it doesn't matter.
Well, you can break people's fucking logic fucking chip if you fucking say to them like, no, I don't support Trump, and then they're like, well, then you obviously see this, that, and this of what I'm saying, and I'm like, no, I don't agree with that either.
Nope.
And then they're like, I get
and that's the thing, like there are not only two viewpoints that exist in the fucking world, bro. I'm sorry. And like,
people aren't monoliths either. People aren't fucking black or white or any of that shit. That's the thing that I've been talking about over and over again. That's the thing that I came to the conclusion with the Daniil episode, where I was like, where he was talking about being Jamaican and growing up outside of just blackness. Like, you had other shit that was to it. And me being Cuban, I had that as my identity. I never grabbed onto whiteness or anything like that. So like, I never understood the tension, the black-white thing, all the craziness, all the fucking whatever's going on right now doesn't make that much sense to me because I grew up with Tupac and fucking Biggie in my ear and Uncle Phil on TV.
Everybody our age did, and it wasn't a problem till like now for some reason.
And that goes back to what Gene said a long time ago, where we were like a naturally progressive generation. We didn't have to be.
Like, we were. Like, okay, like for example, like you were saying about like the whole like, you know, identifying as a race thing. Like, I'm an immigrant. I didn't come into America until like I was 8. Okay,
you're a dirty Canadian,
that's
right?
when you start like forming yourself as a human being. Is around that age. So like 1990, like I come to the United States. Like,
where are you from?
Wasn't a thing.
Where are you from, Gene? You're a dirty Canadian, right?
I was born in Guadalupe.
Oh.
My mom is a.
I thought you were a Canadian, right? No?
No, I'm not a Canadian. But, like, I lived in Canada for, like, the first 4 years of my existence.
I was going to say, you have fantastic non-regional diction. That's why I thought you were Canadian.
No, I remembered because he had said stuff
I
like...
I learned all of my English in Florida, and it was actually really cool because, like, I remember, I think I was, like, 12. And it's when I knew it was a language for me because, like I started thinking in English.
Okay.
Like... And like and when I started thinking in English, I was able, and maybe it's because like, you know, like I had learned like the 2 previous languages when I was really young, so I didn't get into like the meat and potatoes of them, you know. But like it felt like I could express myself a lot more with the English language, like thoughts that were like, you know, kind of like abstract, like found form, like
you were able to
language. So like it was
abstract thought in English, yeah.
Like and it was like really strange to me because like it was a language that you could say 30 different things in one sentence, and like and just on inflection alone, like you know, you can say, you know, like I'm going to the store. Well, I'm going to the store. Like all of these things, just these
Chinese.
tiny like minute like differences make like a world. Like this like.
How big was TV in your learning process?
What's that?
How big was TV in your learning process?
It was huge. Like I like most of the
I hear that over
most of the words and things I learned. Like I didn't know vomit until like I was like 14. I used barf because of Bart Simpson. Like,
same, yeah.
The way that I learned the word vomit actually is really funny. Is like my mom, I had to translate for her while she was like at the hospital, right?
Oh, no.
And so like they're asking me, what her symptoms were, and
Barf.
this, that, and the other. And then she told me that I'm like, yeah, she's been barfing all over the place. And like the doctor looked at me like, he's like, barf? Like, what are you? Like, I'm like, like elementary schooler. I'm like, well, that's the word when he's like, this vomit. That's the word. I'm like, oh, well, that's not what Bart Simpson said, my nigga. and like, for example, in another really good example of like, progressive youth as we were growing up is like, I did not use the word nigga until like
Adult.
after I turned 18. Like, it's like it wasn't a word that was used like
Kevin Kelly's
by like
That's Kevin
like
Kelly's
children
fault.
or Kevin Kelly was responsible for that.
That's
Thank you. Like
the-
a white person is the reason that I started
The
using the word
blackest
nigga.
white
Like,
person
crazy
that
thing
exists on the earth. Well, no, his sister. No, his sister exists. Never mind. That's Yo.
So like,
DMX
it
was
wasn't
his
something
fucking
that,
babysitter. So
that
yeah.
black kids used, in the hood. They didn't use that word, Like when I
Yeah.
grew up on TV and Snoop Dogg was rapping on MTV, that shit was muted. On the radio, it was so like if
It wasn't there.
If it wasn't something that you weren't culturally already saying, it
Yeah.
wasn't in the forefront. You know what I'm saying?
It was post 96.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Post 96, post Pac.
And that was
when
like
the
our.
explosion of everybody saying it.
Yep. Well, I don't know, because the way Kevin talks about it. he's
Never
like,
ignorant getting goals accomplished. That was the fucking thing that was the shifter, bro. For that I remember. That every Cuban kid, everybody with any little tinge of melanin
Of
got
not-
the fucking
of not
pass
white?
in Miami. Just rip that shit and say it casual as fuck.
Do you know what's the funniest?
And that's the thing, because like, and I understand like the implications of the word, as like I understood like the history, like American history. Like my mother was Haitian. Like what I knew of slavery was that at some point in time we fucked up the French and then they fucking railroaded us with bills.
Yeah.
Like that was what I knew of slavery. It's like, yes, the French used to own us.
Wait.
And then we beat their ass, and then they were like, oh yeah, you beat our ass. Here's a fucking
Do
$1
you-
million bill for beating our ass.
Do you remember, Gene? Oh, we were at some. Whose birthday was it? We were at some like beer. Like
Oh, when I was passing out the honorary black guy cards.
no. This is different. This was like we were older. I want to say it was like Ackerson's birthday, and we met someplace like off Clematis, downtown, and some girl was at another table upset at how James and I were talking,
Yes.
and she tried
Yes!
to say some shit about Haitians, and you were quiet at first, and then Brett was just like, Brett is like the most like, please let's not talk with people about politics in public, like let's not do that. She was just like, excuse me, and I was like, oh, if Brett's saying something shit, like they must be wildly incorrect at what they're saying, right? And then she's like, excuse me, do you realize that anything that you just said is so historically inaccurate? I really question whether or not you actually listened in school. And the girl was just like, excuse me? She's like, do you even know any Haitian people? And Gene was sitting right there with his back to him, and Gene's just like, what's up? Hey, do you want the history? I got the whole thing right here. And like they weren't ready, because like you gotta understand, like James and I talking, we just sound like MAGA assholes, and they didn't realize that everybody in our group, drunk or not, will fucking out-educate them under the table, no matter like whatever white privilege paid for their grade shit they got.
That was at the pizza place.
Dude, that was
Yes.
at the pizza place, yeah. And it was funny because John was like, damn man, like he's like, I didn't think that Brett would go in on that, because she's usually the one telling everybody to stop, but she started it. Like his wife was like, please everybody fucking stop talking about politics, everybody's gonna yell. But like they were so ignorant that she had to be like it broke her brain, because she's like super smart and like got that little autistic like no that is like, she could only hear them being retarded for so long.
For so long.
Yeah, that she was just like, like, and she was looking at like James and I was like, you guys aren't gonna say anything? Like, you are the ones that would say something, and we're just like we're just having a good time, like, and we're being respectful that because it was John's birthday, and we're being respectful to John because we don't want to do it. And she was just like, words.
Is it weird? Is it weird?
They called us like MAGA assholes too, I think too. And I was
is
just
it
like,
weird that I'm sick of all the unnecessary like blame white people for everything, but I'm also sick of white people
doing that?
being the people who are championing everyone else's fucking cause.
That's what these
white
people
yelled
were.
Me about sugar skulls one time, and I'm like, yo, I'm a spick. Leave me alone. I can do whatever kind of spick shit I want. If I want to put a fucking taco on a tostone, I'll do that shit. Like, that's my shit.
And you know what, like, really bothers me about that?
They didn't see you, Gene.
It's massively disingenuous.
Yes.
Because, like, okay.
Oh, like, God.
Like, you know, like the whole, like, Uncle Ben, Aunt Jemima whole ordeal. It's like, there's not a nigga on the face of the planet that gave a fuck about Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben, okay? Like, nobody's asking for for Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima to be removed from anything. No,
the funny
that's not
thing?
what niggas are asking. Niggas are asking not to get shot for no reason.
Dude,
like, and
the
then
funny
you're like,
thing about that...
we'll remove Uncle Ben. Who the fuck's anything about Uncle Ben?
Exactly.
You know
the crazy
like,
thing about doing that?
My whole life, all I thought about Aunt Jemima was like, she makes syrup.
Dude, and you know the crazy thing with that whole like taking all the minorities out of like marketing and logos and stuff, they essentially just whitewashed advertising. Now the only people that exist are white.
The best meme I ever saw was the Land O'Lakes one, where they're like, they took the Indian and they kept the land.
Just
they did it again.
They did it again. Yeah.
Yo.
So those are the people that like they were and they weren't talking like that at that pizza place until like James and I we weren't even like talking shit. We were talking shit about politics in general, and Gene was even just like, yeah man, that's dumb. And the great thing is like we were at High Tops and Gene was sitting on like a little like chair on the ground and he was just like this. So when Brett started telling her, yeah. Dude, like when that girl's like, do you even know any Haitian people? And Jean just rose up. You could tell like all the guys that were with her were like ready to like try and start shit with us. And they were like, and Jean's like, what's up? I'm right here. And they were just like they kind of left the girl. They were like, oh, nope, she has gotten us into shit again. And like, and she was drunk, so she kept arguing. And like, it was Brett and Jean just going like, you have never opened a history book. You have no idea what you're talking about. Like, and she just kept going. And the guys are just like, all right, we got it. I'm sorry. Like,
interesting to me too, though, Gene. Something you said was like where you knew about the history of slavery in Haiti and how it went down, so on and so forth. And it's like Cuba, I feel like, is a similar thing where there was like several slave revolutions throughout, you know, the period of time that Spain ran shit over there. And then at a certain point, much like France, the Spanish put the stamp on like, hey, everybody can fuck everybody. It's not illegal anymore. We want more French. We want more Spaniards. If y'all fuck each other, that's what you be. So we're cool with it. Whereas in America, I think it took a lot longer for that to be like, okay. You know what I mean?
You know, and I have like a really, really big like thing with that. It's like the whole like you know, like racism and like you know, multicultural dating and all that stuff. People are dumb as fuck because like and it's not even people's fault because half the time when I think of something for the first time, you know, I'm like, oh, this has to be it. It's the complete opposite thing, you know? So I can understand. I can 100% understand because like usually the thing that you think this is how it should work, it's usually not that way. Like with the whole like the interracial like, you know, like dating and having interracial kids, everybody's like, oh, you got to keep the blood pure, you got to keep the blood pure, you got to keep the blood pure. But genetically, that's bad. It is shown that it is the worst thing you need to do as human beings. You need to fuck as many other races as possible, so then you can have all of the recessive genes be gone.
Genetic diversity.
Have the master human race, like on some live shit.
So my wife is a Middle Eastern Jew, and when we were having our kid, they were like asking me, "Are you Jewish?" And I'm like, "No, I'm Cuban and Italian." They're like, "Oh, you guys are gonna be fine." Like they were literally like completely not worried. They were like, "Oh, you're so far away on the map, the likelihoods of issues goes down exponentially."
Yeah.
Whereas
exactly.
People who are Orthodox Jews have to deal with shit like Tay-Sachs and horrible illnesses that affect their children from birth.
Dude, the
and
Amish
give them a very short and horrific life.
Yeah, the Amish, same type of deal, but it's like
same kind of shit.
It's like super.
Pakistan had similar problems.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with like the Japanese, like their elderly have a really hard time because of like genetic diseases and things like that, because of a lot of like inbreeding and like, you know, the early Meiji eras and things like that. There was a lot of cousin fucking going around because it was all about that whole like, you know, keeping the bloodline pure thing, and like that's not the way you do it, baby.
No.
Because eventually you're gonna have a whole bunch of retarded people in your tree.
So
like, and
actually, I have a theory too, like about that. Like, I think like that was kind of a known thing during slavery, so I think that's another reason why like kind of like some forced inbreeding was happening. But then then that like got like manipulated into some strange like black pride thing where it's like, no, you have to keep like a pure like black kid like now. It's really weird, and like that's the wrong.
Isn't that like Garveyism? Isn't that what that is? Like,
well, like
where they.
It's like when
Marcus Garvey's thing.
Yeah,
everybody should keep with their own shit.
Yeah, which is stupid, and I don't understand why like. So like I've told this story to Andrew a couple times. I don't know if I've told it to you, Gene, but like when my wife and I were first dating, like we went to a Denny's or whatever, and this old white couple, like very old, like maybe 70s, were just like, ugh, this is gross. Like they should like stick to their own. And I was like, I mean, that makes sense. The old white people, what are you gonna do? And then a very young black couple got like sat across from them at a table,
and you'll get the same thing.
And the guy was like, that's disgusting. Like, she should find like a nice black guy. And then the old white guy was like, that's what I was saying. And they pushed their tables together and bonded over just racism. And I was just like, so young black people are the old white people now? Like, just thinking like, oh, that's disgusting. They should stick to their own.
And it really is like that. And I think honestly,
like, it just fucking blew my mind.
Like that for a while.
Yeah.
Like I said about like, you know, being like an immigrant in the United States, like the first taste of racism that I got in the United States was from other black people, because being Haitian was
not
like the
real.
worst thing you could be in the black community in the 90s. Like I don't know what it was, bro, but it was like the worst thing. And I'm like, I'm just a nigga like you, you know.
It was Cubans and Black Americans in the 80s before that. It's like a thing where there's when you talk about systematic shit, what systematic shit does exist is that the poor and the poorest demographics get pitted against each other, and the existing poor always get pitted against the new people who are coming that are poor, because it's like, you're going to take resources from us that we need, because it's the idea of like that you know, if the help goes to someone, it's famine thought. You know what I mean?
Their parents buy that bullshit and then feed it to their kids, like.
Because that shit's real shit. They called us oyes to all deep into my childhood, and there was like a pivotal point too, where specifically in the early 90s, when there was more Haitian people around, that in the black neighborhoods, if you were Cuban, you were cool, you were all right. Because there was an area called, I think they call it Little Vietnam, by Little Haiti and Little Havana, like where that shit touched. You know what I'm saying? Where like shit was fucking wild, because that's what people do. People are just tribal as fuck, and that's always what. But
it wasn't.
You got two guys who are on the same fucking you know, job together, who are black and Haitian and Cuban. They'll get along in a small, you know.
But like Gene said, we were like the first like little, like, because it's like I was saying last night with Kevin, like it's like our little half a generation, like from 80 to 85, right? And then like 80
millennials were called.
Yeah, like that's the weird half generation where like we just don't care, like we're like, oh, like this person, my friend said this guy is cool, so like I'm gonna go out of my way to meet him, you know, like or I see somebody and they're speaking to me and they're not an asshole.
Like I never at any point in time ever felt like I wasn't welcome to one of my white friends' houses. Like
or anybody's house.
Like, you know, everybody would like, you know, from the neighborhood would go to this person's house this day, this person's house that day. You know, if somebody's parents were really strict and you wouldn't go inside, you could go in the backyard or something. You know, it was never anything to where like I felt like the people raising my friends were like, oh, you're horrible because of your skin color. It never felt like that to me.
Yeah,
like at all. And like even like the most racist person like I possibly ever met, which is John Paul's grandmother. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Nice as fuck to me, bro.
Yeah.
Nice as fuck.
And like racist. They're only racist by the terminology.
She had a problem with the fact that I was a black person, right?
Yeah.
But she would feed me.
Yes.
She would let me enter her home. Like me and John Paul were sitting on the floor in her living room playing Guilty Gear. You know? So like it wasn't something that was like as overt as it seems like it is right now.
But it's not even overt. Like people are forcing the overt racism onto some people that just are only that use regular verbiage like we use growing up, right? And they're like, those are all like trigger words for every race, and you're like, but it's not like that because we all grew up so multiculturally, not intentionally, just a byproduct of how we were raised in the 80s, where like everybody's your friend. No, there's no more details than that. But like all of a sudden, like 85, 86 and younger, those kids are the loud and adults now and younger adults. So they're like, no, everything you're saying is racist. It's like,
so Mike, I wonder that.
Why?
I wonder that, did our generation have closer connections with older generations like grandparents and great-grandparents where we heard the previous generation kind of be a little racist or weird and saw what it looked like, even though we knew people? Because like my great-grandmother lived with us, and she would say shit that would be considered racist now.
Yeah.
But she didn't mean it in a racist way. It's just the way that they describe people or whatever. Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
Her terminology. Like my mom had a friend named Diane who came to stay with us for a while. I think she was either in like an abusive relationship or something like that. She was from the Bahamas. She was a black lady. She was. Anytime my mom had a friend over too, at that certain age too, was like, you don't realize you're checking them out, but you're checking them out. You know what I mean? Like fucking. But like, I remember my great grandmother going, Diane, I practice with a lot of you people.
Yeah.
With the people. Like nowadays that could be taken way the fuck out of context. Because I remember even my mom was like, no, you don't call people you people. It's not that's not how you talk. Like and she's like, I don't mean it bad, I mean it good. You know what I mean?
I have
like
a theory.
My great grandmother really didn't like the English and the German because World War I and World War II. She lived through both. So I think she had some fucking.
So here's the thing, like what I think is our parents are the kids, the boomers, right? The kids from World War II, right? Like immediately after that era. And I think if your parent was the boomer, right? Growing up in America at that time,
actually in a lot of cases the same as us, where they're between the boomers and the hippies.
Yes, exactly.
They're in their
we're in a unique our parents are in a unique spot of like post/overlap boomers.
We're not as wild as the boomers kids, and we're not as wild as the fucking hippies kids.
Exactly. So like we're in like that. Our parents are the in-between generation. We're the product of that and became an in-between generation. And it's like, so here's a lot of things. Like a lot of people coming back from World War II brought wives from other countries, which I think is very like from like everywhere in Europe, right?
Australia, Philippines.
Yeah, Philippines. Like I mean, I'm here because America went to the Philippines. It's like, hey, you want to be an American citizen? Come fight for us. And my grandpa was like, sweet.
My wife's grandfather,
my grandmother was already here.
An Australian girl.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like we brought everybody from the world into America, right? And then
that upside down pussy on him, he almost brought it home.
Right? So like literally, we brought everybody from all over the world into America, and it was the first real like melting pot halfway generation of our country. So like,
and then Vietnam doubled down on that too.
Yeah, and then exactly, yeah. And I feel like that halfway generation were mostly the people that came over from other countries, and then were like, cool, I'm gonna go fight for America too now. Like,
what's interesting? I think this war in the Middle East that we've been having for the past 30 years or whatever. That's the first one where there hasn't been that same big populist boom when the guys come home.
Exactly. Well, and because you can't take women from there. It's weird. Right. You can't take women from the middle unless you are taking them from Israel, and then they're like, hey, you like my daughter? Yeah, she comes to America with you. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like our parents were the real first. We don't care what race you are. Yeah. Because my mom is from France and my dad's American, or my mom is from Australia and my dad's American, and my dad's American Italian, second generation, that's they were the first true progressive where they play everybody was mixed, right? And they still went and hung out with the kids who weren't mixed and everything, right? And then they grew up, they didn't really have a place in history, so they just did the regular American thing, and then when they had kids, there were more ethnicities in America. Like you said, it doubled down by Vietnam, right? So like I feel like it was the parents, like the kids, the in between boomer kid people that are our parents that really we learn from our parents. And when your parent just when you say like, hey, I'm bringing my friends over, and it's like every color of kid, and they're just like, cool, yeah, everybody come in. You're like, oh, okay, I mean, so that's just how I treat everybody, right? Like we don't care.
I wonder too if that contributed with our ease of like we were comfortable with shit talk and stuff like that too, because like you go to the Jamaican kid's house and you eat some shit over there. You go to the Haitian kid's house and you have griot. You go to the Cuban kid's house and you have lechon. You go over to the Korean kid's house and you try kimchi. Like you go, like you mix it up.
It was
the buddy
okay.
with the single dad and you eat the Stouffer's fucking microwave lasagna.
You're like,
you got the fucking
we don't want
the white trash kids
like Matt's dad. Oh god.
You have in the bag the malto meal Fruit Loops at your other homeboy's house for dinner. Like you experienced the gamut. You know what I mean? And what was interesting to me too is like the kid who was having the Fruit Loops for dinner a lot of time was the kid with the most money because his parents were busy. And he ate fucking his own shit. You know what I mean? Like so, but you got to see, like the joke was my house.
But the parents didn't stop that. Like now, I see like
they didn't stop us from anything. We were out in the ether. And you would go on your bike with me and my little brother.
And we're on the cusp of the old world and the new world with technology.
And bikes in the lawn, and that's where we would go play.
And once again, we were in the same in between era that our parents were in, right? Where like we still could see the old world, but we could see the new world of technology 100%. We were still like, our brain is like we were cognitively aware of how things were when we were small, which was still old world stuff, early 80s, right? Or late 80s. And then the 90s is like the boom of technology, and we were like, okay, we can comprehend everything from the beginning. Right?
I forget what the movie was, but there was a movie, and I remember watching it as like a young kid, and it was like 1990, so I was like 7, whatever, 8, and I remember this guy's getting mugged, and he's like an 80s style slick businessman getting mugged by these like young hoods, and it was like the classic 90s street gang of like a black guy, a Filipino guy, a white guy, a Puerto Rican guy, like the whole fucking gamut. It was the Captain Planet and the fucking Planeteers, like fucking.
Fucking up an old guy.
And so I remember the guy being like, "Come on, man, don't take my ID." And he's like, "Motherfucker, we taking everything. It's the 90s, bitch!" And he fucking hits the guy. And it's like, as a little kid, I was like, "Yeah, it's the fucking 90s. It's our time now."
Yeah.
To us, Batman was a cartoon. Mm-hmm. Mark Hamill is the Joker in my heart. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, no, 100%. You know what's really weird to me though?
Michael Keaton is the only Batman.
Before I heard Mark Hamill as the Joker, like because like when I read things, like my brain makes up a voice for a character. Whenever that character comes on the page, my brain switches to that voice, and it really, really fucked me up when I saw that Batman cartoon, and it was really fucked up too because like the Joker was in French in my head prior to the fact, but the voice. Like the voice, dude. That like when
now you can't hear him any other way.
Like the voice in my head. Yeah, really? And it fucked me up as a little kid. I'm like, they have like leapt into my brain, and like they found that like, and so it forever will Mark Hamill be the Joker to me because
so like to me, movie Batman, it's Michael Keaton and fucking Jack Nicholson. Yep. But TV Batman, it's Mark Hamill, and you know who my favorite Batman is on Dietrich Bader.
Oh yeah, because he's got that voice.
Dietrich Bader was fucking Batman for a couple of seasons of one of the cartoons, and that's the Batman sound that I remember.
Is a great voice actor.
That Batman animated series.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best.
So like
the old
that was our
style cars and shit.
Yeah, but everybody.
That was my favorite.
It was
like Batman Noir. You know what I mean? Like
everybody watched it too, though.
Like had a detective like feel to it.
Remember though, like it would. Saturday morning, right, on the WB network is when all that shit would premiere, right? Like that and X-Men and all the great cartoons of the 90s. And then on Monday, everybody would talk about it, like in class, regardless of like boy, girl, black, white, Hispanic, a foreign kid. Like even the kids that like didn't speak English too well, they were just like, oh no, I saw it too. Because like it was on the free channels.
And the reruns the reruns
on Friday
during the
night.
weekdays.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember me and my brother
On
would
Wednesday nights
fucking
too.
sprint home
Yeah.
to try and catch as many superhero cartoons as we could, because you had Spider-Man, the X-Men, and then Batman was the one that came on last.
Yeah, that was the finisher.
After Batman was the news.
Yeah. Fuck the news. Yeah.
Over.
But yeah, man, like that was like something where like it was everybody's, and I feel like our weird like halfway generation, like you said, like we didn't care because like I didn't care that I was like fucking talking to a kid that wasn't the same race as me about that, because we were both excited about like, did you see how cool that was? Yeah.
And again,
well,
you brought new shit to each other. You brought interesting new shit to each other. I remember showing my homeboy Mike Lewis. I drew like my guys that I was looking at the time were like Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld. Like I liked that style of comics, and he was into Dragon Ball, and he showed me like that style of drawing. And we like learned from each other. And then I showed him Sublime, and he showed me Wu-Tang, and shit was never the same again. We fucking learned so much from each other. I feel like kids don't get that as much.
I think that's a large part of it is because like we had no choice but to be immersed in other people's cultures.
Yes.
It's because like those were your friends. You go to your friend's house, you had dinner, and like I don't know like what silent rule it was in the 90s, you know, but like no matter what kid came to your house, it's dinner time. That motherfucker's eating.
Yeah, everybody.
Yes.
All the time.
You know, like
it didn't matter if like your parents made shitty
12
food.
Kids in the house, bro, and my mom was slinging it to everybody. You know, like. You know, we'd go to Nelson's house or this person's house or this person's house, and it's like, and we just ate at everybody's house in the neighborhood at some point during the week, you know?
Yeah.
And like, it was just like a normal thing. That was a normal occurrence. Like the fact that you were.
And you had the one friend whose mom would get there and be like, "Oh, there's a bunch of people here. Order some pizzas." Like, that was Tom's mom. Tom's mom was the order the pizzas mom because she worked at a radio station. She worked at Sunny, and so she was busy as fuck.
Got the hookup too. Yeah.
And she would get home and be like, "Oh shit, Tom's cute. Got his 2 buddies here. Order 3 or 4 pizzas for us." Like, those days. But see, like, I got a kid, man. There's no. You don't go. They don't go out. They don't go find friends. When I was 6, I was out on my street on a bike, on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Like, my daughter, that won't be. You know what I mean? It's just not the way the world is now. You got to call because people don't let their kid out. If you let your kid out, they're just alone walking around. Yeah. Like there's not 10 kids in a tangle together like there was. Back when I was in roaming the streets, there was always 2 to 5 of us at any given time.
Yeah, there's a pack of
you
us.
Always
because you have to get the crew together, bro. Yes. First person to make it out found the next person. Found the next person.
Dude,
that was the best. The best.
Like, there is that now, which it's a weird. So like Black American kids right now, like they're the shunned group. They're like a little bit younger than us to like young now. I don't know if Gene probably has seen him a bunch when like he goes and plays video games like fighting games when like Pro Play used to be up here. It's the black kids that love anime, where like the rest of the black kids are like, "The fuck you watching that gay shit for?" And they're like, "No, fucking Dragon Ball Z's the best thing ever." You know that? And like,
I feel like the demographic has grown a lot over the last 10 years.
Those kids are the.
Because when I was in junior high and high school, that was 3 dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a bigger demographic of like Black American kids, and what those kids are the most like us, I find, because they can't go to like you said, there's like three black kids on the block that like anime, and they know each other, and they're their only friends, but they want to learn, they want to expand, and now they have the internet. And they can meet people like in their area, and they're not other black kids from their neighborhood, you know? Like, so I feel like, and I feel like the type of kid that's like, yeah, come over to my house, we'll watch anime, like, right? I feel like their parents are a lot like our parents, or like or like us, you know? Like they could just be our age, and they're like, oh yeah, have the kids come over, whatever, and like they're passing that tradition on to like that specific demographic of like Black Americans, because, and I love. Dude, those are like some of my favorite people to meet. Like when I play Magic, I'm like, "What's up, man?" And they're like, "Yo, dog, what's up, man? I fucking love this new deck or whatever." And then like they start talking to me about anime that I never fucking heard of, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, man! Tell me all that shit."
I just love when a stereotype gets crushed. Yeah. And like you get your mind. That's the best shit ever, no matter what it is. One of my favorite videos of all time is this black kid comes out and in perfect dialect sings a Korean pop song on this like Korean fucking singing show. And
yes,
owns it, bro.
They cry.
Oh, they all fucking freak out when the guy cries and shit.
Yeah,
that dude is amazing. And it's like, all of us like, why couldn't he know perfect Korean? Yeah. I don't know, but nobody thought he could, and he just destroyed the room. That shit is the best. I love shit like that.
Yep.
No, like that's very true. Cause like this girl I dated, she's like in a choir, and they did like the Evangelion intro, like in Japanese. Like,
that's wild.
You know, like the whole choir is in there. Her mom, her brother,
that's
like,
crazy.
Just aced it, bro.
That's awesome.
You see, like, all of these black people in, like, these long purple and white choir robes.
And they loved it, I bet, too.
Wild.
And I bet they fucking loved it, too. I bet they were fucking having a blast, dude, because it's so good. Like,
I seen something similar with, what's the song from Skyrim, Cometh the Dovahkiin or whatever? Fucking, like, that.
Yes!
Dude.
I've seen that where it's like a legit fucking operatic choir, Dovahkiin, Dovahkiin, and they're like fucking a dude with bells and shit. Like that shit. When you see some shit like that,
I need to find this guy. I need to find this guy that I worked with Will. He was literally.
You know how many people think that I fucking am in a metal band when they hear that I'm in music? Because I'm tatted and I got a shaved head and a fucking beard. And fucking then they hear me do like fucking, fucking country roads or whatever. Fucking.
So this kid was our age. He was a black dude with like a long dreads, and like he heard me talk about stuff. It was like Adam worked with us for a bit too, and like we were so loud. And Kevin, right?
Hopperson?
No. His name was like Eclavion, but he went by something else. He grew up in Riviera and he stayed there. So like. He eventually like moved seats, and then he sat next to me, and like he was talking to everybody else in the call center like hood, and then as soon as he sat next to me, he said something to me in Japanese, and I was like, "Excuse me?" And he was like, "Oh, yo, you watch anime?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And then like all of a sudden like his voice shifted, and he like just spoke like super educated English. Not saying that like people weren't, but you know, like white.
Code shift as a black person in America.
Yeah, man. And then like literally like we became really good friends, and like we were watching the same like shitty comedies like what was the Black Dynamite? Like we would do Black Dynamite quotes at each other all day, and people around us be like, "The fuck are you guys doing?" And then
well, that's another thing too. Growing up in any kind of hood culture, whether it's like in a Cuban, in a Puerto Rican, Dominican, Venezuelan, black, Jamaican, if you in certain groups speak with certain diction, you get accused of shit.
Yeah, like my wife.
You get like the automatic
got into
accusation of trying to be white or trying to be this or trying to be that. I've been called a coconut before. Fucking, you know what I mean?
No, that's very true because many a times I was told that I was not representing niggas. Because of the way that I spoke.
Because you just speak. Yeah.
When do you get to turn it off? And I've had people tell me too, it's like, well, you're white passing. And it's like, yo, my name on paper, my government name is Andres Miguel Jose Rodriguez. What the fuck are you talking about? Have you ever had to look at a lease agreement for your parents because they don't speak it to English? What are you talking about? I'm passing.
Damn it.
Fuck you. You don't get to tell me that shit. I gotta live the life that I'm living. Like, that shit drives me nuts.
Start with an I. Look, I'm trying to find this guy's name because I remember his very unique name. I don't know how you would spell his name. Kid was awesome as fuck. So there's the funny clip from Black Dynamite where Black Dynamite's like going to all the pimps and drug dealers. He's like, "I'm getting rid of everybody that sells drugs in the community." And then the black guy from Reno 911's like, "But Black Dynamite, I sell drugs in the community." Like, it was like a funny scene from there, and like we would always do that. And then the funny thing was when Whitney Houston died.
That guy's funny as shit. He's talking about
Cedric Yarbrough, dude, he's great. I love him.
Everybody in that show has impeccable timing.
Oh, dude, yeah. I have to share with you this TikTok because they rebooted Reno 911, and he's in a great.
I've heard it's out there somewhere.
Dude, and it's just as good. So anyway,
I love him.
So Whitney Houston died, and the mayor of Riviera Beach was one of the 100 people that was invited to her fucking funeral, right? And some bullshit. And he went to go speak because he was friends with the owner of the place, and he spoke to the call center. And he did dude, this kid got me in trouble because literally the the mayor of Riviera Beach, Reverend Masters, was going off about drugs and stuff, and he's like, and I will get rid of everybody that sells drugs in my community. And this kid just leans over and he's like, but Black Dynamite, I sell drugs in the community. And I was like, dude, I could not, like, it was, his timing was perfect, and I will never forget that guy. And I was like, like, I got up, I got in trouble, I was laughing as I went to the bathroom. And he's like, something funny to you? And I was like, no, I'm sick. Like, but dude, I was just like, dude, he's just, but Black Dynamite, I sell drugs in the community. Just, God, I was not ready for it. Dude, kid, that's what I'm saying. That guy in the black community is like going out now, and like, I want that guy to be a representative of the black community, because he didn't care. He's like, he's like, dude, we like the same things. Like, we're cool humans. I can make you laugh inappropriately. Like, I want that guy. That guy should be like the fucking leader of Black Lives Matter, man. Because I feel like he has like a perspective on the world. Like, he's like, I don't care what color you are. We have a good time.
Man. Most people on a person-to-person basis will get a fucking
But I want them to take over, like, the movements that are making people say
things
like we should stick to our own.
Pursue that kind of movement shit.
Yeah.
Normal people don't. We're abnormal for doing this much and talking shit every fucking week. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's like,
but like
I feel bad for people who really believe in and hope for some benefit from Black Lives Matter, because
but even
I see
then,
it being the same thing. It's co-opted by assholes, like every other fucking cause. Dude, you can't even donate.
And that's a big thing that's happening. Like, and it's no matter what the fuck it is.
Yeah,
like
you can't go into breast minority. Money going somewhere else.
Yeah, the loud minority, and it's like with anything that anybody's trying to do to like make any sort of forward steps, the loud minority comes in, and like sometimes it might just be like conspiracy theory, but sometimes I almost think that it's like divisive, Like,
no, it is.
Like, hey, you assholes go over here you do this thing to discredit these motherfuckers, kind of thing.
It is.
Because like
no matter what side it's on.
No matter what, no matter who or what, as long if it's going towards something that's gonna bring about unity, like somebody is out there, just like doing dumb shit and being the ones that are getting the limelight. You know what I'm saying?
Every time.
Using Black Lives Matter as a perfect example, like talk about like the black community in and of itself. The same way I could talk about the Latin community, the Latino community, whatever, the Hispanic community, whatever the fucking nickname they want to give us fucking this week, the Latinx.
You're Latinx right now.
Yeah,
we're Latinx.
That's what I said last week.
Ask any fucking spick on the street what he is. First of all,
Latinx.
We don't call ourselves Latino because we're so individualized in what we in our individual cultures.
No, you got your Chicanos. It's different.
You can't even talk to a Mexican as a Mexican because he may be norteño, Chicano, sureño, like they may be from the coast. It's the same thing with Cubans. Even Cubans talk shit to each other. Cubans from Miami are considered Yankees. Cubans from the city in Havana are fucking city Cubans. And then you have the Guajiros in the countryside. Like, we don't even in our own have a monolith. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing that drives me nuts with all these groups too, where it's like the black community as a whole. How did all of a sudden? And I got no problem with gay people and gay shit. I think gay people should be free to be gay as fuck. And I think being gay as fuck actually makes a lot of shit better because it adds a cool contrast to the world. But how did that get lumped in with Black lives? Why can't black people have like what? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. And also, to be real, most of the black people I grew up around in Miramar, Carroll City,
that shit doesn't
they
fly.
weren't down with gay shit.
That shit
they weren't cool
fly.
with it.
No, the black community is very homophobic.
Yeah. Which is
and honestly, the Latino community is it doesn't fly.
Which
now I will say this: the gayer or the blacker or the more Latin, like the gayer, that's usually pretty fun. That's usually a fun dude. You know what I mean? The person who's flamboyant in spite of being a member of that community, that's usually a fun and a interesting human. But at the same time, by and large, man, it's very hush hush in a lot of families, or it's like openly not accepted. And how did that get piled in Black Lives Matter?
No, that's very true. Because a lot of uncles and aunts have friends that come over for dinner.
A roommate that comes to Christmas every year for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
yeah, your uncle's best friend Mark. They always pal out.
And the crazy thing that like this shows you like how easy people in America are to manipulate because like white people in general are so scared of being labeled as something that like they're overly not homophobic, right? Mm-hmm. And they're on a lot of like people like that are like conservative, right? And on the side that's like historically like against minorities and gay people, but they're overly like, no, I don't want to get anything held against me, so I love everybody, right? And then like you said, the black community, Gene, is like really like not down with gay people and like go to church a lot and are very like a lot of black families are like things have to be like this.
Catholics.
And they're being like led over to the left, which is like literally like gay and anti-God, like not overwhelmingly, but like that's a big group, you know.
That's one of the greatest failures of the right wing, to not absorb all
minorities from
Catholics, Black and Latino communities that are out there that fucking are all about God and shit and fucking.
But the people they absorb aren't about. It's really weird to me.
Yeah,
the people that they absorb
make any goddamn sense.
It's people that they've absorbed now. Shit. Yeah, but like they've switched, and the crazy thing is when Democrats are like, no, like everybody switched at this time in like the 1800s. I'm like, yeah, 2 people, but like, and that's only politically. It's like I feel like it's switching back to what they think it was before, because like honestly, right now the left's like you said, authoritarianism. It's anti-free speech. It's like it's lynching, like not in reality, but it's like we should fuck this person up if they don't believe what we believe. Social lynching, social media assassination, and like the people on the right that are like still there are just kind of like more libertarian than anything, where they're just like, why can't we all just do our own thing, and if we like mingle, we're cool, if not, that's cool too.
And again, though, you have people on the right also though
who are like super far.
Well, even guys who aren't, honestly, that I start to see more of this absolutist shit from as well, like a guy like Crowder, who's recently been saying shit like, you know, anytime you're breaking the law or whatever, you're committing violence. And then that meme came out where it's like violently collecting rainwater, violently fishing, violently, you know what I mean? And it's like one of those things, it's like, no,
but they're a product.
These absolutes.
Yeah, and they're a product. They're a product of the
they are the pushback.
And like, and we talked about this last time. Like, you don't want like that guy pushing back. You don't want to be so extreme that you're getting that, because that guy's giving people his audience, right? Like he's giving people like an okay. Oh, so it's okay for me to push back. No, you don't want those people to push back, because like we said, those people have guns, and all the people on the left don't want guns.
As safety becomes more and more of a concern, like I was talking about, look, it's a bunch of dads on my cul-de-sac. Every fucking house on my cul-de-sac is a family, okay? We got people with their kids in high school, people with their kids in elementary school. We got one lady whose kids are in their late 20s and shit. It's all families on my block, and we're all concerned about the exact same thing: getting our kids to school, getting them fed, keeping them safe, all that shit, okay? The real deal is, me and my wife are the token, we call, you know, off-white, we call us ourselves. My wife's a Middle Eastern.
Eggshell.
I'm a Spic. 2 of the families on my block are black, 2 are white. We're like it's the perfect fucking weird little fucking American amalgamation. It's like
the era that you grew up in.
Well, real similar, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing about it: we don't ever really have no political conversation. But when the riots and shit were going on in Atlanta, one of the guys here is a cop. None of us know him. He's the weirdest guy on the block. Nobody talks to him. He's the quietest. Whatever, he keeps to himself. But me and the other dads on the block kind of spoke, and we're like, hey, if some shit goes down, you know, we'll keep an eye out for his kids and shit, because that's like, that's the people that's going to be scary when those people feel like they got it. If I feel like I have to leave my house to protect my family, that's when it's going to be scary.
Yes.
Because I'm not a fucking special ops, but I am a dude with a bunch of guns and a little bit of a fucking animal. Like that's when when a dude like Gene, who fucking is just living his life, drawing for fucking 8 hours a week, like when he feels like when a normal person feels like I have to do something, that's when shit's gonna be scary. And regardless on what side it goes, once there's extremism enough on either end that the powder keg is going to be lit, and we can't stop it if it gets to that point. That's what's fucking scary. And no matter who gets elected in this year, we're going to see some ugliness in early November. We're going to see a real ugly version of America.
Well,
and and that's the part that upsets me the most, because like, and it's probably, going back to that whole thing we've been talking about, like during the process of this conversation, about the how culturally we're more progressive growing up and things like that. Like, one of the things that really bothers me about this whole thing is, like, I am such a devout American and a capitalist at that. Like, I believe in, like, the whole American dream, picket house fence fucking founding, and like that imagery of, like, everybody being, friendly and neighborly to each other regardless of who the fuck they are. That shit was like ingrained into me as a child. Like that image of the American dream. So I 100% believe that there are a lot of people out there, if not the majority.
That's most people.
They believe in that American dream, and that is, the world it is that they want to have is,
so this is my problem.
To where, like, everybody has a job, you got your fucking.
So that's that's most people, and this is my problem with the left. Is right now they're saying that person, us, the majority of Americans, just buying into that, like, we like our country, we love our country, right, is like racist, right? And I think they're pushing it's like Oliver said, it's more acceptable as a moderate person on the left to have the extreme views of thinking, that just being proud of your country is racist because it's built on slavery, But what they don't understand is that
that's the thing. Nobody is denying the fact that it's built on slavery.
Exactly. Exactly. Show me a country that's not built on the blood of people.
The whole process is, as Americans, at least with, it could be indoctrination, whatever the fuck you want to call it, but like the imagery and like what it was that I was given as a child, as an American, it's like, it's the whole fact that you understood that those things that you did in the past were wrong, so now you're working towards making them better. And that's what the whole thing that, I think it's all about being American, is understanding that, yes, regardless of the fact that this was fucked up, we know that it was fucked up. Yeah. That's why we're acting now to make that difference, because we understand, yes, segregation is bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
Look at us now, like, no matter where you go, no matter where it is that you go in the United States, you look in a room, there's going to be a person of color in there.
Yeah.
Like,
funny thing that you say that.
Non-existent. And that was something that was like non-existent, like fucking 80 years ago.
It's
like
even
80 years ago.
Even at a Klan rally, there's people of color, which is like crazy. That's how inclusive America is. That
awesome,
like that at a Klan rally, there's Asian and Spanish women that are those white guys' wives. Like, especially in fucking Florida, which I find hilarious.
Wow, I love that.
Dude,
it's like you've been infiltrated, bitch.
Yeah, it's like, how can you believe this crazy rhetoric anymore? Your fucking wife's Filipino. Your kid looks like me. Like, there's like none of it. It's all done, man. Like your grandkids are half black too. Like, come on. Like,
it's like, they push this idealism on us for so long, and like it became like, the standard in our minds of how these things should be. And now that we're in this position, and we're seeing that there's this like extremism that is growing as a whole in our country, and we're like, yo, this is not what America is about. Like, this isn't what patriotism represents.
Yeah.
You're trying to say that to the people. You're automatically labeled as an extremist for one side or the other, depending on like what it is,
who you're talking to.
With,
Yeah. Man, like, dude, like, I think the like why I use the specific marker of like 1985, right? 1980 to 1985, like that little half generation that we're in, because I see a lot of kids born in like 1986 and earlier, and like and younger, right? That are being the loud ones. That's like, no, the American dream is like racist, and I'm like, America is only racist. I'm like, what happened to you? Like, what did your parents tell you? Like, why did you?
And that's what I don't understand. Like, so I'll tell you, like, about 2 years ago, 4th of July, I was with my daughter. She was like 3.5 at a splash pad. And this is Atlanta. There's all kind of people here. There's a big Asian population. Yeah. There's one of the biggest black populations in the country. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a dope melting pot. Like, there's all kind of people. And I feel actually cool that there's not as many Latinos because I get to like represent out here for that shit. You know what I mean?
You're the guy.
Like, well, and I remember it's 4th of July, and it's just me and my kid, you know, hanging out, letting her get tired before we have some friends over for like a barbecue that evening. And there was just a bunch of different kind of people all around, man. There was like some like Puerto Rican ladies like talking in the corner. I could pick them out from fucking a lineup a mile away. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just all kind of people, man. And my daughter's just playing with all kind of kids, and I got choked up because I was just like, man, like my dad's dad escaped a place to come here for this. Like, you know what I'm saying? My mom's grandparents came over from Italy on a boat for days and days for fucking this right here. Yeah. And my daughter's got a little fucking Korean kid over here and a little black, and she's hugging all of them. They're all having and it's like, yeah, man, like, why can't we see that? And like, we don't have to tell kids nothing and they're perfect. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just let them play with each other. My daughter, I remember like a while ago, we were in a mall and she's like, Dad, I want to go make friends with that brown girl. And for a second I was like, oh shit, man, I got to watch her like saying shit like that. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck that, man. That girl has beautiful brown skin. She's a cute little brown girl. Go talk to her, Annabelle, and fucking go make friends with her. And you know what? Ask her questions and fucking learn some shit, because that to me is what's going to make shit better all the way around, man.
That's what our parents let us do.
It's that being exposed to other cultures thing. I think
and not
maybe
thinking not thinking that other cultures is any like it being in other culture doesn't make it different. It's like being around other cultures is the norm.
And see, that was and what you said there right there. Just because another culture doesn't make it different, and that's the thing that I really loved about like, or love, I should say, about like, you know, America and the whole American dream, that whole motif, is that like before, like, you know, like you know, and a lot of people don't like, you know, the different terminology, you know, but it's like African American. It means like, yes, you're from Africa, you're black or whatever, you know, but you are an American. You know, and and that didn't, you know, like water down your culture any. That's why they put it first, you know. You're Mexican American, you know. It's like it's like a moniker that you're adding onto it. And that always made me very happy, because it's like, yes, your culture is accepted here.
Yeah.
And it's part of our culture, you know. And like and that's a lot of the things that like a lot of people don't get, is like American culture is largely in part minorities, because there's not damn near anybody who's from here, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, unless you're Native American, you're probably from here,
bro. Yeah.
But even Native Americans are just like Koreans that went up.
Yeah, they kept walking.
Yeah.
They ran and didn't stop till they got to Idaho.
Yep.
Fucking.
Like, that's the only nobody. That's what when people are like, oh, nobody here is like American, and like when people usually say what you said, Gene, or like, except for the Native Americans, I'm like, yo, bro, like nobody. There's no people like genetically from America. And North America, South America, it doesn't matter. Like, there's
the short-faced bear and the American leopard. Bro.
Those are the animals over here. Yeah, the animals are the only real Americans that are here.
And look, that's what I'll go back to. Like,
man, like
when we're talking about my daughter, man. I told this story before on the podcast. A couple weeks ago, or a week or two ago, we're getting ice cream, and she's like, "Dad, that guy looks like you and Uncle Warren." And I'm like, looking who the fuck she's talking about. I'm like, who are you talking about, sweetheart? I'm looking for like another big white gorilla. And fucking she points at a black dude. And I'm like, what? And she goes, he's got lips that look like yours and a beard just like yours and Uncle Warren. And you and Uncle Warren look a lot alike. And you guys both, and he was like, he had a similar build to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the cool. It made me so happy. She wasn't like, there's no difference. And then she learned about like Martin Luther King in school, and she had like a million questions. And it was so dope to be able to be like, yeah, man, black people had it fucking rough for like a long time, and that's why now it's so cool that like our neighbors are black people, and like and
you
she's
live in
like
a nice neighborhood,
dude, and she's like, Dad, so like Martin Luther King, like, so she says his name all fucked up. She's like, so he had to like fight, and I was like, yeah, kind of, and like getting to explain that shit to her from the perspective that I have of like, yo, like just give her the information. Don't put any kind of spin. I'm trying to avoid any woke spin or any right spin or any left spin on any shit. It's just like, yo, let's watch a little documentary real quick. Like, let's figure it out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and even like I had to watch the Muscle Shoals documentary with me about Muscle Shoals, Alabama, where they recorded a bunch of music. And Clarence Carter was talking in the beginning about how, like, you know, it was the early 60s. And in the street, if you're talking to a white guy, you called him Mr. whatever his name was. And he was talking about how in the studio, you know, we got away from that. And we didn't have to do that. We were all friends and we were all musicians. We were all equals in there. And it was beautiful. And that was the first time I ever experienced that. And my daughter was like, you know, she's 5. She's like, what? She doesn't understand because half her friends are black. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like Gavin and Connor and Morgan and all her little buddies. Like, and she's like, wait, but why was it? And it's like, oh, it makes me so happy that she's so like, doesn't process. It doesn't make any connection. It doesn't make any like, and it's just like, so every generation we get to be further removed from understanding why that, and that's what I was saying earlier. We were connected to our grandparents. We had all this like, what's that?
We were progressive.
We were getting further removed.
I feel like it's up to us who understood and lived real progress, like Gene said, like the real progressiveness of just naturally being like, we have to pass that along, you know?
Well, Gene actually said something that I found really interesting too, though. And it goes back to something I've said a bunch. The mafia first stole from Italian people.
Yeah, their own.
The triads first stole from Chinese people. The Yakuza stole from Japanese people, right? The Sandinistas stole from Colombia and so on and so forth. Like, so when I've experienced like the nastiest versions of racism, it's always been other Latinos.
Yeah.
It's all, and many times Cubans, specifically thinking I'm white and saying some shit about me.
That halfness.
And exactly. Dude, in my own family, behind my back, for my whole life, I've been el hijo de la italiana, the son of the Italian. And that's kind of like calling me a son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, and my siblings are los colombianos, and I have the other ones and this one's, and so it's like la rubia and all that shit.
My favorite one when I started school with like the Asian kids, and my grandmother, like the first day she came to pick me up, not my first day, but like the first time she came to pick me up, she was like very like standoffish with everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. And then like when we got in the car, I'm like, why are you being mean, Grandma? Right? I'm like first grade, and she's like, did they call you names? And I was like, no. She's like, they didn't call you things like half breed or like, and she just went through like all of them, and I was like, no, I didn't hear any of that. She's like, because you look white. And I was like, oh yeah, but no, you're all friendly, we're just kids. Like, she was just real surprised. She's like, oh well, that's good. And then like that was it. But she was like very like ready to like deal with some like Asian racism that had been transferred to the kids. But like they're just kids. Like they were meaner to me when I was older, but but when we were kids,
do you think kids are more segregated now? Yes. Are kids more like culturally segregated now?
Yeah, for real. It's like a lot of like propaganda towards like white people. So it's like, and then there's the natural distrust of minorities with each other. That's like always in America, you know. Like that was already like a thing. Like minorities segregating themselves with each other.
See, there always used to be like different little weird symbiosis too, though, right? Like where
there
it was
like overlap before, but now it's like. The divisive propaganda is like, no, you have to stick with your own.
If you were in Miami, if you were like in Fort Lauderdale, let's say, you had to go to a black neighborhood to get the dopest Chinese food. You know what I mean? Like there was like certain like crossover shit.
Yeah, but that's not a thing
these
anymore.
cultures blend well here and it works, and it's like this cool little layer that we get to like share.
That's another thing that upsets me about the internet, because the internet right now is so soft. And like everything gets you banned from wherever you're speaking with people. And I remember the raw internet. I think, Gene, like you remember like just when the internet was like message boards and just raw as fuck.
Oh yeah.
That was everybody of every culture being like that. And like racial slurs were funny on the internet because the people using them were like, the black guy was calling the Asian guy the N-word, and the fucking Asian guy was calling the fucking white dudes like chinks, and like the Spanish guys were calling black guys like spics, and I was like we know, like, and then it was like a funny circle, and then we're just like, ah, fuck all of you, like, and like you, like there was no like no, like you would get offended, like a gut reaction.
There wasn't animosity.
There was not, no. Like, and when people talk about like how like the last bastion is like, I wanted to talk about this last night, but like 4chan is again like the last bastion of freedom on the internet, but it almost was gone because the guy that started it got wifed up by an SJW girl, and he replaced all of the moderators on the entire fucking website with his girlfriend's SJW friends.
You'll get you every time.
Yeah, dude. And literally everybody shits on China and like how China has a monopoly on technology. Luckily, this Chinese guy that's like our age that was like a multi-billionaire just came along, and he was outraged like everybody else on 4chan, and it was just like, yo, dude, you want? I'll just buy it. I'll buy it from you. It needs to go back to the way it was before. And the guy who started, his name was Moot, right? He was just like, no, it needs to be this. And then the Chinese guy just kept throwing more and more money at him until he was like, I gotta sell it. And then, dude, like 4chan's wild now, like old school internet, because he was like, cool, it's mine. All the mods are kicked. Where are the mods? He's like, there's 1 or 2. And then like if you develop your own mods, that's cool. But like, he just was like, no, this needs to be old internet. And now it's funny that is the last bastion of freedom on the internet. Like the only thing you can't post there is child porn, and you get like reported to Interpol, which is like, yes, that's good. That should happen, right? So like thankfully like that's gone. But like people call 4chan like the alt-right epicenter, and all it is people our age, like living
Kyle's dad.
Yeah, living our life. No, Kyle's dad is a new thing.
I know, I'm joking.
Like that's a new thing that's developed with older people that have like figured out the internet, which is like my dad. Anyway, but like 4chan, like you can be you, and you're anonymous, and anything you say there, it's like what you were talking about. Like you say something dumb around your uncles, everybody fucking
you get hemmed up.
Yeah, you get corrected, you get smacked up real quick because it's the internet and it's instant, right? And like there's funny shit on there that's like our type of like, nobody cares about if anybody's offended or not. Like that shit's just real. That's the last part of what the internet used to be. Like that's why I think people our age like it so much. And then like kids that are figuring out like, oh no, I can do whatever I want on here, and
I kind of think something you said is important to mention. Like our generation, or the people within these couple of generations that are clustered on top of each other.
Yeah,
it's important that we recognize like what really is, as opposed to what's being presented to us over and over again. And like what Gene was saying before, like that natural, organic progressivism that we enjoyed in that era. Like the idea, like what you said about your mom, like 12 kids in the house and she's just slanging plates, like that shit brought me right back to my own like junior high era of life, with my mom being like, oh, you got a bunch of strays coming in here, all right, let me make fucking lasagna and or a pot of fucking...
Man, she called Kevin her white son. You have no idea how many white kids got kicked out by their parents, lived at my house.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
she's like, yes. You can come live with me, I will feed you. Like, and you know, that's crazy. Literally, when I met Kevin, like, I met Kevin on a Saturday night. I went to Port St. Lucie with Kevin. We did angel trumpets, okay? His grandmother kicks him out that Monday. I bring Kevin back down to West Palm with me, and I'm like, Mom, Kevin's moving in with us. And it wasn't even like a question or nothing. She's like, he's your friend. He means he's important to you, whatever the case. He can live here. And she fed his ass. He stayed with me in my room with my little brother, bro. Like, it was like, it wasn't even a thing. It was like a question. It wasn't like, oh, who is he? It's like, oh, he's white, or any of that, bro. She's like, he needs a place to stay. He can stay here.
When my mom passed away, I had so many of my friends like come up, and even Tom was in the army at the time, and he came down and he called her mom and shit. Like it's you don't even realize too how much of an impact your parent can have when they have that tact. Whereas now people seem so like standoffish when it comes to kids being at their house and shit, and insurance and getting in trouble and all that kind of shit. That was never a thought back when we were kids. It was just like, They're hungry. No question of allergies. Can you eat peanuts? Nobody asked that shit. Just
that's
fucking
gone.
put a plate in front of you.
And it's gone. You know, unfortunately, that's just gone. And like I said, I think it's up to us to like, you know, the thing that sucks.
Yo, you know how many kids my grandfather hit? Like,
yeah.
That he like literally smacked, or he would nut check us. I think I said this last night. He would nut check us, and he'd touch your shirt, like point something like you got something on your shirt, and then slap you in your balls and be like, "Yeah, water it." Like fucking, you couldn't do that in a million years.
Yo, so
you couldn't do it in a million years.
I think.
And when he died, I remember a couple friends contacting me and being like, "I remember him teaching me this or that." One kid from like elementary school was like, "Yo, I remember he taught me how to shake hands like a man." Like, because that's what he would say. He would make us like shake hands. He was a mechanic. He was a strong guy. And like that now, it's just, who has grandparents in the house even? I had great grandparents in the house. Crazy old Italian lady who would kill a random animal and cook it. Fucking, my great grandmother got my fucking grandma fined like $1,500 for icing ducks in the lake and fucking hanging them up in the backyard and plucking them and fucking stewing them up. Fucking. Those big ugly Muscovy ducks.
Yeah, that don't taste good.
Dude, she got my refugee ass uncle. Yo, I want to actually, Mike and Gene, this is actually perfect. I want to turn that into an animation and do the voices of my my fucking great grandmother convincing my fucking hillbilly Cuban uncle to snag a bunch of ducks out of the lake, and my grandfather getting home from fucking work at Sears being like, "What the fuck is going on? It's like a Chinese market." That's what he always would say when he told the story. But I can imagine my fucking bum uncle hanging out at my grandparents' house and fishing in the backyard, and my great grandmother being like, "George, vinica, you see these are big fat ducks? Grab me 2, 3 maybe, huh?" And him going like, "Okay, claro que sí, I can grab 3, 4 ducks. You want it? I'm getting the bread from inside." And he catches fucking a gang of ducks with the fishing pole, and my grandmother's just snapping their necks and plucking them and dipping them in a pot of hot water and plucking them and hanging them up. And my grandfather gets home from fucking Sears, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on in here? You doing Peking duck? What the fuck?" Like, that shit, maybe our generation had more of that going on, and like, these kids don't now. There's no connection to like how weird and wild your own people are, so you think everything is sterile.
So, you know what's funny? So like the people our age, I think we were the first generation who were like, "No, fuck having kids," you know? Like, so which is unfortunate, because then like the kids like right after us are like, "Yeah, we'll make indoctrinated kids," you know? Like not good. The kids that I've seen, like
you know, like because of that, I've like very heavily considered having children. I was like, you know something, I might just need to have one just so like I can like
he can not be a piece of shit. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah, you know, like.
However, those kids after us that decided to have kids and try and indoctrinate them, their kids are that generation that I said are like geniuses from birth. They fucked up. They literally had kids who only knew the internet, and when their parents would try to give them that indoctrinated bullshit of the left or the right, they just go, they're like, "Wow, my parents really don't know what the fuck's going on, and neither do my teachers. This is strange," right? And they're
you're right though.
Just
it's
like
changing. Like, I remember my wife, she and I decided at one point to not have kids, and then there was like a switch where she was like, "No, like we would make someone who had a high IQ, like we should do that."
Yes.
Like, it was literally one of her main like points. She was like, "If this kid is artistic and creative as you, and with as much of a, you know, outside scope of thought, and as directed and as measured as her and as intelligent as her, like." She was like, it's too much potential to not try and make it. And literally that tact, that's how smart she is. I'm just like, we're going to fuck to make people now? All right.
We fuck
like,
make people.
But she was like, no, we actually have like a responsibility to try and make a person that's like of a higher caliber.
And like a lot of people, you know, they like they compare, you know, like what's going on right now to Idiocracy, but I don't think that's the truth, because Idiocracy had like it was a lack of intellect that was the problem, you know. The problem that we're having is pseudo intellectualism.
Yes,
intellectual
like
laziness.
What's that?
Intellectually lazy.
Intellectual laziness.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like you're to the point where in your pocket you have all of man's combined information, but yet even with all of that, you're going to go to the farthest reaches of the internet to find some bullshit as opposed to like the information that's right. And another thing is like doctrine. A lot of people are like, oh, I googled this, but Google is a search engine. It looks for words. So what it is that you type in Google is what is going to bring you back. So like most people don't ask Google questions. They type in statements.
Yes. That's why a lot of times Google can't find. Yeah, Google can't find what I'm looking for a lot of the time, which is because I'm asking it a question. Like I remember Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves was a true search engine because you asked, "What is this? Like, what am I? I'm looking for this, and I don't remember what it's called." And it'd be like, "Well, I can kind of figure out what you're." That's like, and then sometimes what I loved about Ask Jeeves, it was like, "Well, I need more information," and you're like, "Oh, okay, this is other things. I think it had this in it or whatever." And it'd be like, "Okay, I know what you're talking about." And now, like what you said, Gene, Google is like a statement. It's a confirmation bias machine, which is dumb as fuck.
It's an echo chamber.
Because, like, you know, and that's the thing. You know, there are enough people out there to where, like, no thought is original. So whatever dumbass, fucking, stupid bullshit it is that you're thinking, there's somebody out there that's already got 8,000 other people on a fucking webpage somewhere just guzzling that shit up. So, you know, when you, like, you go and you're like, oh, this exact statement that I had as a thought. And now you find all these motherfuckers like, yeah, this statement is the statement. That's not proof that you're right.
Exactly.
You know?
And
like,
that's what like fact checking on the internet is now, just finding other people to co-sign your bullshit. And when I ask somebody for independent thought and to have a real conversation with me, I'm not asking them to do that. What I'm asking them to do is like, I am asking you a question that has nothing to do with your confirmation bias. I'm asking you a question about you personally so I can try to find some common ground just so we can get anywhere. And all they can do is shout their rhetoric at me, and that makes me their political opponent automatically, because I'm not buying into their rhetoric and I'm not shoving the other rhetoric in their face, and like that's gone. Like and I think it's because so this is where I was going.
Almost like you're vehemently more vehemently opposed when you do what you just said, where you don't shout back another slogan or buy their slogan. They're almost like, well, you're even worse. You're not only
because you're not buying to like some narrative.
Yeah, you didn't pick a side. Yeah.
Yes. You didn't play the game.
Yeah, I thought we agreed to play this game, and it's like, no, I don't play that game. I'm sorry. So like, here's something interesting about the kids that are younger than us had kids first. I don't know if you've noticed, like their kids are like that smart generation I was talking about, right? Like it's weird. Like the younger
those kids that are approaching 10 and 12 years old right now.
Yeah, and our kids, the kids of people our age, are like 5 and younger. You know?
Isn't that something that they say too, though, that people typically with higher IQs have children
kids later?
Closer to their mid-30s or their early 30s comparatively to like their early 20s.
Yeah, because if you're an intelligent person, you're like, this is going to cost money. I should be at least close to like, you know, some sort of stability before I start popping out kids.
My wife had certain financial goals she wanted us to meet and certain like personal goals before she decided to like get off of birth control and start, you know. Yeah, I don't think people make that like conscious choice a lot of the time.
And that's the thing too, like those kids that are right after us are like, I don't like to bring it up because it's like it's insulting. Like they're
dumb as fuck.
They're statistically some of the lowest IQ people. That's why when I asked Kevin last night, I was like, "Hey man, like what year were you born?" And when he was like 1987, and he was I was like, that's really like his level of intelligence is
he's an oddity.
Yeah, he is an outlier for his age group because he's using rational thought, you know?
I think what it sounded like too, though, is that he had faced certain adversities in his life, and I have a sibling who went through similar ones. And I think when you're faced with certain like harsh realities, it changes your perspective a lot. And if he had to like really rebuild himself or get to a certain place in life from a really negative place, that may be a big factor into his mentality. You know
and he literally saw like people our age like getting it right, you know. So he had like a reference point, and like in the history of his mind, like, oh, okay, like I strayed, but like this is how I can be, you know. Like, and he's like right on the cusp too. But like, so those kids, the dumbest, statistically, like the dumbest pocket of Americans, right, had kids that are now statistically the smartest generation in the world, right? And then that makes me wonder, because we're making the generation of kids behind them, and we were, so before these kids were born, it was that like 78 to 85 age range. We had the highest IQ starting, right? Just based,
but also
everybody.
the lowest.
No. We had the lowest is
the
lowest is, so if you go from 80 to 90, yes. Because that's what I'm saying, like the 78 to 85 and like 86, yeah, and like 86 to like 91 is like, that's some of the dumbest people that have ever been made in the history of the world. And they made kids quick, and those kids, like I said, they tried to enforce their fucking
we talked about it with Kevin last night too, though, right? There was a lot of nutritional shit that goes into that as well, where our parents, you know, look at all their backgrounds. There's some immigrant shit in there where people are cooking
the cusp of
home.
Lunchables. We were on the cusp of Lunchables, and like everything like that. Like I still got food.
I'll never forget. I asked my mother to get me the pizza Lunchable, and she looked at it in the store, and she looked at me.
It's like gross.
And she said, "I'll never forget." She said to me, she goes, "You will never eat this. You will never eat this, Andrew." And I go, "What?" And she goes, "It's a cold pizza. You don't even heat it up, Andrew." And I was like, "I want it though." You don't even heat it up. She was like, "You will never eat this. Don't ever ask me to get this again." She was like serious as fuck. She was furious at me when she found out I was eating frozen lasagnas at my friend's house. She was like, "Andrew, I make a fresh lasagna almost every week. What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh no, it's good." She's like, "It's trash." Like fucking so serious. But so that I think that may be a factor too, bro.
That is very true, because like, you know, like my mom, she grew a lot of her food in our backyard.
Dude, having having home cooking, that means something, bro.
So like
we're all tall. Think about that.
Yeah. So our weird half generation,
even the guys that aren't tall in our generation are thicklets.
Yeah. But here's the thing. So our parents were the smartest generation that had ever lived, right? In that weird half generation. And then it was us. And then it took a weird, dumbest people that have ever existed to make a weird, a different like butting up to. Because usually it was like the parents born like late 40s, early 50s, right? Like that's the smartest people that had ever existed. And then they made kids in the early 70s or in the late 70s, early 80s that ended up being the smartest people that had ever existed. Then all of a sudden, randomly, kids born in the middle of the 90s, right? And then like the 2000s are like the smartest kids that have ever existed right now, right? And but that makes me wonder. So then, like, our kids, Andrew, like those kids, that generation's an anomaly, right? Of the smartest people.
Are our kids gonna be dumb as shit or smart as shit?
Are our kids gonna be smarter than them? Because they have the advantages that those kids had to naturally just get, their brains were huge and they were able to filter out all the bullshit. But at the same time, their parents were like pushing them down, right? So like with our kids, we're like, no bias. You just take knowledge and you become you. And they have access to even more. So like, are our kids gonna like be like the tradition of the weird, every 30 years that half generation is like fucking changing the world smart?
I wonder though, I'll go back to something Gene said before in one of the chats, apathy and empathy, right? Yeah. Like there's an abundance of one or the other, but seemingly not both in a lot of these younger kids.
Yeah, two extremes it seems.
Yeah.
Right, and so I wonder, are we going to be dealing with that where we're dealing with like genius sociopaths? Because
here's
the pushback from our generation is no bias, no temperance, no guidance, just information. Because the other side was so rampantly anti-logic and anti-information, we're going to make a bunch of fucking Vulcans because it's just logic.
That's what those kids are. Those kids. So this is the problem with those genius, the current genius generation. They don't have apathy or empathy. They are a problem like that. Like watching a 10th grader make an old black man cry in 2016 with facts and him laughing about
was
that.
Was it a young black kid who was all?
Yeah.
I think I saw that video.
Yeah. Like the black guy in the street was
like, he's like, they're clearly highly uneducated. It's ridiculous. You have no grasp of history.
Yeah.
And he broke that dude down in a couple of minutes.
Yes. Like it was like me, but like young. Like, and I was like,
I was demeanor. You're a little more
that's what I'm saying. If I see that I'm about to make somebody cry,
you, my friend, where you smell the blood in the water and then you decide if you're like Predator. You won't kill them if they're unarmed.
Yes, exactly. And that guy that guy was unequipped to deal with that child.
He was literally just hyped up from the crowd.
And that kid destroyed him.
Eviscerated him.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that guy like hurt himself later. The way that kid killed, like
that was
And that kid is in college now because that was 4 years ago. That kid's 20.
An adult.
Yeah, that kid's 20 now. Like he is precision point accuracy with undisputable facts. Doesn't give a fuck if you vote left or right. He just simply, and he even says this too. He's like, I don't like Trump, but he's not Hillary. And he's like, I can go deep on the internet and find everything.
It's a bunch of little Ben Shapiros that play Fallout 76 and Fortnite, bro.
But Ben Shapiro has more tact than these kids. These kids
but he gets on those autistic bents where he's just like,
they are only that, and they have the thing where they're just sharks. They're genius sharks, like you said. They smell the blood in the water.
Black-eyed shark.
Yeah, and it's like their eyes roll back and they get into a feeding frenzy, and it's like they're going to make the people their parents' age, the kids that are a little bit younger than us, kill themselves. Like that's how bad they are.
Or trying to kill them. I mean, it's gonna get what? Listen, whatever happens with this election, I'm sure you both agree, we're gonna see some shit get weird.
These kids are these kids are serial killer level manipulation without having to get their hands dirty. That's the only problem I have with them. It's like we were raised to think about things, and that's nice. These kids are unfeeling machines, like killing machines of facts. And that's why I think our kids are going to be our kids are going to frustrate them because they're going to have personable skills and social skills and still be smarter than them. And they're just not going to understand. Like it doesn't compute in their computer brain.
Here's something else I notice about specifically, let's say, our friend group. We are all rich in charm.
Yes.
Like that's a skill.
Well, that's because our generation made nerds cool. But
now nerds are the bullies.
Our generation made nerds cool.
Yeah.
Because it came to the point where being intelligent wasn't some sort of
it wasn't the 80s movies that we grew up in.
It didn't demean you as a person being intelligent because the same guy, for example, in the case of Andrew, the same guy that was into physical sports and combative sports is the same guy that held that intelligence. It was really cool because I noticed the transition around when we started getting to about 18, 19 era, when we started going to college, that there was this big sapiosexual kind of movement to where intelligence was sexy. People enjoyed that, and I think it's because like we were saying earlier with just how much that you were exposed to, because we were at the cusp of the information age, okay? So we grew up to where at 12, you might still believe in motherfucking Santa Claus, all right?
Yeah.
We grew up in that time to where some kid couldn't just go and be Mom, the internet says the tooth fairy is fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
There was still that sort of there was still that sort of air of mystery about the world. It was still kind of magical,
How about this though? I wonder what you said earlier, Mike. My daughter, she's 6. She does not have internet access. She'll be 6 in October. she figured out Santa and the Tooth Fairy already. Like, she figured it the fuck out.
Their brain's too big, man.
It's like she does not fall for any okie doke.
Our kids
at
are
all.
the.
It's kind of hard.
Our kids are the natural progression of the genius generation, right? Like I said, it was our parents before, and probably their parents before them. You know, like our kids are the natural progression of genius, and this anomaly generation of kids that are like in college and in the middle of high school, right? Maybe junior high. They're an anomaly. Like they shouldn't exist. They shouldn't be that smart. They should be just as dumb as their parents.
The reason that they do exist is
how dumb their parents were.
Strictly environmental.
Yeah, it's how dumb their parents were, and the oppressive, biased views that they were trying to push on them, and the availability, the first uncensored availability of knowledge that generation. They were the first ones to have access to the truth. You know, 100% of their lives.
Their intellect and fact-driven nature may be like the direct response of the emotionality of their parental generation.
Yeah.
Almost like the Renaissance was a direct response to the Dark Ages. You know what I mean? Where you
Dark Ages.
Pushback.
It shouldn't exist naturally, and we're actually the most natural progression of like human IQ, because we're in the weird halfway where things like political affiliation and race and sex and sexual orientation, like, were not impressed upon us from birth, whereas like before us and after us, those things were, you know. And then same thing with our parents. Before them,
a huge thing in like the 70s to like 80s era.
Yep. And then with our parents, same thing. Before them, World War II, man, that's like, you have to be a race, and the race is good and this race is bad, you know. And then our parents are all mixed. They're the first real like melting pot. And then their parents before them were like the people of the kids of the conquered countries, you know. So where like that was like what you were saying, Andrew, were like, okay, everybody just fuck everybody. Like that's our grandparents, you know. And like we're the natural skip of everything, and then where like the brain is allowed to just grow on its own, you know. Whereas we're just sandwiched between dumb fucking people that are just like, no, it's always been about race, it's always been about sex, and we're just like, it doesn't compute with us, you know, because we were just like, no, that's not what it was like growing up. I mean, we saw dumb older people and dumb younger people, but like we just kind of were like, man, whatever, it's cool. If you're in our like bubble of age, like everything's good, man.
And also, is it just me, or was there a point in our like adolescence maybe where if someone was bigoted or racist, they were instantly marginalized by like everybody?
Oh, yeah, you ousted.
Yes.
You were ousted.
Yes.
Or just like look at it like a quaint dummy. Like I remember a buddy.
But they weren't like racist. They weren't racist like the way it's like now. It's like, oh, that person's like racist.
It wasn't like
everybody whisper like, behind his back. No, but like,
I remember
if they were racist, they were fucking loud about it.
Well, I went to my buddy's house, and he had his like old grandma lived there, and she was like fucking super old Southern white lady, and she was like, "So Andrew, are you a spick or a dago?" And I was like, "I'm both." This kid's name was Tyler. He played tennis. He was fucking white as fuck, and I just remember he used to have cold sores on his mouth all the time, and fucking. I just remember his grandma being like, "Are you a spick or a dago?" And like, I was like, "I'm a little bit of both." And she was like, "That's very nice. You people like a lot of fun." Like that kind of like racism where it's like just it's folksy. It's fun. It's you know, it's fun. Even Tom, he has a grandma who was particularly racist, who told me I was one of the good ones, because I fit in America. And I was also instructed by Tom not to mention my wife's Jewishness that much because she had a thing with that. But she made the best banana pudding that I ever had in my life. And we used to always say all the time, me and Eva would be eating her banana pudding. And we're like, the racism is like, it makes it so fucking good.
You can taste the racism.
And part of it was that I think knowing that I'm a spick, she's a Jew, we're eating this lady's pudding who thinks she's giving it to her little white grandson. That's the best part of it. I don't know. There was so many layers of it.
It makes it sweeter.
It was the best fucking pudding. Yeah. But Tom used to crack me up too because he would be like, "Yeah, my grandma, she's pretty fucking racist." It's just like the casual. And again, it wasn't like, "Oh, my grandma, it's so horrible, she's racist." It was like, "Yeah, my grandma's racist. It's fucking, she says crazy shit. Like, I can't bring her around people." Like that was like the vibe.
Dude, my grandma beat me like I was a slave because you know, I just happened to be in town with like my Spanish girlfriend, and she was just like, and then she threw money on me like I was a hooker, and she was like, take that like she used some racial slur for Spanish people. She's like, take her to a nice dinner and get her out of my house. I was like, all right. And I was like, I shit blood. She like kicked me in the stomach so hard, like I was like, man, this fucking hurts. Like I have to have like a broken rib because I'm breathing funny.
So that's the other thing
like,
too,
she
right?
Beat me.
I don't know your mom, Gene, but so you got a Haitian mom. So I'm gonna guess, even if your mom wasn't heavy-handed, that when it called for it, she probably lit you the fuck up.
Oh, bro, she smacked the shit out of you. Out of you. Like,
so, that is gone now. I had an Italian mom who would fuck me up with any kitchen utensil around.
Whatever
me. I had a Cuban dad who would beat my ass.
Arm's reach. Yeah, whatever's in arm's reach.
Yeah. I brought a dirt bike home one time, and my mom must have broke 10 plates throwing them at me when I was walking it into the patio. She's like, "You want to die? I'll kill you, motherfucker. Take it back." Like fucking, like that kind of shit. Like, that's gone now too. That's another thing too. There was like I remember like a pivotal moment when my mom hurt her hand smacking me one time, and I was like, "I am a man now. She can't hit me anymore." Like it was one of those kind of like,
on some live shit. Like, okay, like I had a very similar like instance, you know, and like when I was a kid, like the logic that I put behind them, like if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna get in trouble. My mom's gonna fucking slap the shit out of me.
Yes.
It's gonna be grounded. It's gonna be a bad time. So I made sure that every time that I went out, it was worth the ass whooping I was gonna get when I got home.
Yes.
Like,
but you can't do that anymore. Like,
no.
You know? And so like eventually at some point in time, she's like, no matter what I do to punish you, you just do the shit that you're gonna fucking do anyways. So we got at this impasse to where she was like, you know, if you don't die and you make it home, that's good enough for me. You know? And then I would come to the house at 4 o'clock in the morning on all kinds of ecstasy with 12 white kids. And I was like, sorry, Mom, I lost my key. She would be angry as fuck opening the door at 4 o'clock in the morning and all these fucking doped up white kids giving her hugs. Hi, Mom, as they're walking into my house to go into my room to cause all kinds of havoc.
Yeah.
That's like, see, isn't it funny too? You come to these like arrangements with your parents in that era. Like, I remember sneaking out all the time or going out all the time, and then it got to the point where my mother and my stepfather would sleep on the couch to try and catch me coming in.
Oh, waiting.
And I would get in like fist fights with my stepfather at a certain point. And then it got to the point where if I could get in and sneak past them, they never even mentioned it. Like if they woke up and I was in my bed, they were just like, well, we can't prove, I don't know, fuck it. Like they just were tired. They just couldn't do it. And then even a couple times when I got caught, I remember my stepdad, it was like 5:30 in the morning, and he was getting up for work. He was a maintenance man at a nursing home, and he was fucking making coffee. And I walked in, and he like looks at me, and I look at him, and he just like poured a second cup of coffee and slid it over to me. And we just sat there, and I'm sipping coffee. And my mom gets up, and she's like, "Oh, you sleep good?" And I was like, "Yep." And my stepdad just looking at me, fucking, I smell like reefer and fucking sweaty titties or whatever the fuck I was into that night. And fucking those kind of, again, it's like a coming of age thing where I got to a certain age. I was like 15, 16. I was a big goon of a kid. And they were just like, man, you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to learn some shit on your own. And whatever the consequences are, you're going to have to do. I remember my stepdad giving me the car when I didn't have a license and being like, if you get caught, you stole it. And he meant that shit.
Did you see that post I made about like the kids growing up in Royal Palm? Like they're very pro-communist.
Yes.
And like they don't have any idea like what educate like we should replace the teachers. And then I made like another post
like,
about
when you say pro-communist, okay,
do they actually know what communism is, or do they have like that stylized like American communism?
So this is why I said we need to replace all of the teachers in Royal Palm, because the people our age and all younger say the things like, "Oh, the communism wasn't done right. We need to do it right because we're America." And I don't, and you don't get that, like our parents, right? Like people our parents' age.
I think it was done pretty right. I mean, it just failed.
That's
because
the thing.
It was a bad idea.
I feel like the people our parents' age that were like having their kids grow up in that era, like trusted the teachers to be impartial, right? Because I know it's like the same group of teachers have been teaching in Royal Palm for like 30 years, like Royal Palm, Wellington area, right? And like they're just like they have to just be indoctrinating that whole area of adults and like kids, because I've never seen such a large group. As soon as somebody's like the guy that threatened me, Andrew, as soon as like they start talking that like pro-communism, pro-socialism bullshit, I'm just like, where did you like grow up, man? Like where did you get fucked up like
I have
this?
a theory that I've been thinking about with this though.
And they're all say like the Royal Palm, Wellington area. I'm like,
well, outside of that specific area or whatever, I noticed that a lot of people with those kinds of views, in my opinion, are individuals who come from a little bit of money, but they themselves have no discernible skill or talent of value, and or no drive to achieve that sort of thing. And these are individuals who come from something that they could not maintain themselves, or they come from a lifestyle that they could not achieve on their own without the aid of their parents or whatever. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that I see the most as the most vehement for this idea of like, we should all get the same thing. We should all get a piece. I should be able to live how I've lived.
And that's that kind of era. That kind of area is like that. But still, like,
and that's what I mean. Like in general, like I think there's a big part of it is people who, for lack of a better term, like they don't have much to offer, so they're trying to secure their selves. In that way. That's what it seems like.
But that, like,
Gene, you still live?
Hello, Gene. Did your phone die?
Well, you know what? It is 1:35. This is one of the long, great one.
Yeah, it was good. We still need to talk to. We still need to talk about a little bit of stuff after the show.
Yes. Let's end it now because of that very thing.
So let me get the outro ready. All right. So we got a Patreon. We got our
Patreon and T-shirts,
and
this
got
week
other shows.
Tom Eats It is back.
Yes, Tom Eats It is back, and we've got our reaction videos.
And more reaction videos.
Every Tuesday we're putting those out, and we're there he went.
And there he is.
Back. Hey, you exist again.
They got a Patreon.
Yeah, we got a Patreon. Patreon shirts. Tom Eats It, and we've got the reaction videos, content coming from Oliver.
Share with your friends.
Yeah, content coming from Oliver that I'm working with him on. Got to get his computer ready to go. Dude, the Patreon thing is really going to help us like get to the next level. So like share, and then not only share, and then let people know that we've got the Patreon, because like
and right beyond the Patreon, if you can't Patreon or you don't want a Patreon or you know us too well to want to hear us talk that fucking much, share our shit so other people who want to hear us talk shit will buy our Patreon shit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And Gene, plug some shit. Where can people find your art to look at it and ask you to do commissions for incredibly exorbitant prices that are worth it because your art is amazing?
Well, like I don't have any sort of social media right now. I mean, like I got Instagram, but I don't have that much stuff on it yet. I really just need to upload a whole bunch of stuff because I have like art. I just haven't been uploading it.
Give out Instagram so that when you upload, people can see.
But it's at @afantasia art on Instagram. Eventually, I'll put some stuff on there.
Send Mike a link. You can put it in the description.
Send me the link. I'll put it in the description.
The links below.
All right, sounds good. You really like saying that. Fucking Andrew and smash the like and the link below it. He really likes saying that. There's not one time that he's missed it the whole time I've been watching.
Yes. I like the L.
All right. So, yeah, that's it. I'm going to run the outro.
Well, bye, people. Gene, stay on the line.
Peace.
Stay on the line.
I will.